for it.
G'day and welcome to On The Esky, a sports podcast where we like to wrap up the week that was in sport, or this week, 2 weeks, a little bit of a COVID break. Drink a few Luke beverages and talk some absolute dribble. Today's show, action-packed. Australia wins in Pakistan. IPL kicks off. Obviously, we've got the weeks that were in the NRL and the AFL. A man called Buddy Franklin did something Friday night. NBA and soccer, NFL free agency, a bunch of trades. Some absolute bombshells. Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill come to mind, and then a massive final round. We had the UFC last week, actually the biggest fight night in UFC history over in the O2 Arena, plus UFC this morning, Tim Tszyu fighting, and the F1 is off to a start for 2022. Please remember we have timestamps. You can skip to the sports that you like to listen to, or if you're an absolute idiot and just listen to the whole damn thing. And please consider subscribing on YouTube or giving us a follow on our socials. On my left, I have Sean. Getting a little bit more sleep these days, mate.
Yes, definitely.
How's second time daddy going?
Yeah, good.
2 months now with a little girl at home?
Yes. And back into work, of course, getting stuck in as always. So maybe a little bit less sport in that regard, but I have been following a lot of it, which is excellent. So looking forward to the potty. It's been a couple of weeks and we'll get to that in a minute, but yeah, happy to be back. And
Monks, how you recovered after getting the spicy flu? Feeling good, mate?
Yeah, you're all good. It didn't hit me too hard, thankfully. Yeah. Still,
I don't know. It affected his memory by all
guys. His brain fog because I can't talk, but outside of that, yeah, not too bad.
I kept on just playing on. Still worked. I think I had like an afternoon off. Other than that, just as normal.
Let's go.
So, yeah.
Did you get a bit of extra sports viewing time in the week off, or did the work from home kind of take priority?
Yeah, working from home. Like I said, I took barely any time off. I didn't milk it for as much as I should have.
You should have got those teat and squeezed all the milk out of it. That's the only good thing to come out of isolation, in my opinion, is being able to be a bit lazy and sit around and watch a bunch of sport, maybe catch up on some Netflix, do whatever else you like to do with your free time.
Apparently that's work for me.
Yeah, it seems like it. Shout a beer. We like to shout a beer on this show. It is a segment where we shout a metaphorical beer to someone that has achieved something or done something of note throughout the week, or in this case, 2 weeks. Sean, would you like to kick us off? Who is your shout a beer for the week?
Yes, and an actual regular for shout a beer and a bit of a mainstay for us, for Ash Barty. Not for anything she did on the court. Yeah, now hanging up the tennis racket, I guess. I
was waiting for boots there.
We're with 2 very difficult analogies there and stumbled your way through. But what's the go? She's only 26, isn't she?
Yeah, 25, turning 26, I think. So
young.
Mid-20s.
In my mind, she was late 20s, hey? Yeah. Achieved so much.
I've been in the sport for a hot minute. She's been around for ages. But after winning the Australian Open at the start of the year and, of course, Wimbledon previously, she's basically ticked off all the boxes. She's happy with what she's done in the sport. And has decided to retire. So she, like I said, hanging up the tennis racket. Whether she picks up the golf clubs or maybe puts on the boots, that is a potential. She's definitely got lots of...
or picks out the baby stroller. That was on a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, that's probably the other one where the mummy's on the...
That they're planning a wedding as well.
Wedding.
Just I've got the quote, actually. Physically, I have nothing more to give. I've given absolutely everything I have to this beautiful sport of tennis. I'm really happy with that. For me, that is my success. Thank you to everyone who has supported me along the way. Brutally honest, just said she's, burnt out, got nothing else to give, nothing else to prove.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, bit of a bombshell. Did anyone see this coming? No, I certainly didn't. I thought it was a bit of fake news as it was coming through when it first came out.
Potentially could play for another 10 years kind of thing if she really wanted to in tennis. If you wanted to chase any of Serena's kind of records or anything like that. But no, I'm done. I won the Australian Open, was probably the big one on her list to tick off.
The childhood dream apparently was Wimbledon as well, so tick that one off. Yep. There is still a US Open that hasn't been achieved, so who knows? Maybe she just wants a break. And she will return in a few years' time, and maybe like you said, maybe she's just really over it and just wants to do something different. Whether that is just being a mum and keeping a bit of a low profile, or being let's not get too far out of ourselves, being a wife, which is on the actual cards. But yeah, very handy golf player. Lives on the Brookwater course up there in Brisbane. I've seen her swing. I think she could definitely make a go of it in golf. There was a little bit of speculation. Yeah, would she try some kind of team sport? I don't think that's on the cards. If you've got a cool 20 or 30 million in the bank, I don't know if you'd be bothering with the contact sport. Cricket, obviously she was a very good cricketer growing up, had to choose between cricket and tennis. Maybe that's something that she might consider. The Women's World Cup on at the moment. We'll touch briefly on that in a little bit. Australia doing very well in that.
I will say I think probably the travel and like you say, where she's going to get married and have potentially going to have kids, of course. But the travel, of course, going especially with the COVID times, go through lockdowns, going all over trying to get all over the planet to chase things like the US Open, etc. Maybe not doing it anymore. She just wants to stay home in Australia, get married, live out married life, and then maybe make some decisions about what she wants to do. But otherwise, she's an elite Australian athlete, and we're all very proud of her and sad to see her go. But hopefully another big chapter coming up in her life.
Indeed.
Yeah, one way or another, she deserves a break and deserves a beer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Courtesy of the
She loves a beer.
That's it.
Marks?
Yep. So my shadow beer this week is Christian Eriksen. So we've been, I guess, kind of on and off following him for the last 9 months since he had that cardiac arrest.
9 months.
Yeah, I think something around 9 months. Yeah,
about June last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
That time goes quick.
Yeah, so shouted him a beer about a month ago on his return to the EPL, playing for Brentford. And then, shouting him a beer this week for his return to the Denmark national team.
Yeah.
So they played a friendly against Netherlands. Unfortunately, they lost in the end, but he put the jersey back on for Denmark, got subbed on just before halftime, and his first touch of the ball, he scored a goal for him. So
it was a handy touch as well. Did you see that? Yeah, the cross came in, one touch, left boot, top left, see you later.
You love to see that.
Yeah, good on him.
Yeah, great effort from him. Hopefully sort of comes full circle now, gets back into the national team. They're obviously qualifying for the World Cup, and great to just see him playing football again after everything he's gone through. So
indeed.
Just shouting me a beer this week.
Excellent.
Great effort.
Might have to run it past the cardiologist. I hope not. I hope if he's good enough to play soccer, he can have one beer.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
Maybe go to the zero alcohol ones or something. Maybe.
There's zero alcohols, a few of us having a zero alcohol beer. I think that's a first on the Esky. Definitely a first for myself. Just having a little break. I don't know if the Great Northerns, after sponsoring or pushing a product, can definitely push a bit of this Great Northern Zero full taste at Great Northern. In a sad week for Italian sports fans, I'm going to highlight something of note and shout a beer to the Italian rugby team, who got their first...
What sport's this? It's still alive?
Rugby union, it's still alive. Actually, internationally doing very, very well.
Internationally, very well in Europe.
In this country, not so much. Anyways, don't need to repeat ourselves. We've touched on that many times before. But Italy are often cellar dwellers in the Six Nations over there in Europe, not known as a rugby powerhouse. They won their first Six Nations game in 7 years. There was players crying on the field, absolute emotion. They only scraped a very scrappy win against Wales, who are quite handy actually in rugby union. And the Welsh winger actually, Josh Adams, won the man of the match. He gave his man of the match award to Ange Campazzo in the aftermath of the match. Try saying that 10 times quick. And good scenes for Italian rugby fans. Italian soccer fans we'll touch on a little bit later. Okay, this is a bit of a rough one, I thought, actually, because poor Monks, he got the COVID. Kick
a man while he's down.
I don't think I put it in. Oh, maybe I did.
I didn't write it, so unless Monkey's making himself the mop, I definitely think that's your... You can't read handwriting on a Google Notes document, but that is definitely your handwriting there.
Yeah.
I think, the ha-ha at the end of that
probably
wouldn't have been me.
Yeah. Incorrect use of capitals. I think that's definitely your note. So Monks did recover from COVID, hence why we've had a week off. As you isolated. I've had it before. You haven't had it, have you?
No.
Dodging that. Cha-cha.
had flu all week, but yeah, no positives for me on the Rona, luckily.
Anyway, so you're feeling better, aren't you?
I'm feeling better. Feeling less of a mop.
less like a mop. Harsh mop, that one. Anyway, I think I've said it before. Well, I gave myself a mop of the week once, didn't I? So if we're going to give them out to professional athletes that are 100 times better than us at doing anything in life,
we're going to cop one occasionally.
Yeah, we have to look at ourselves in the mirror, and if that means
give as good as you get.
Yeah, that's right. Contracting a pandemic flu and having to be sick for one day and working from home for 6. So be it. So sorry, Monks, you're the mop of the week.
That's all right. I'll survive.
Look. Every cloud has a silver lining, and the silver lining is that we get to wrap up 2 weeks of sport. So it's going to be, we're going to have to try and be concise because there is a lot to talk about. So let's get stuck into the cricket.
Job done. Let's do it.
Okay, Australia win the 3-test series 1-0. Very lackluster first 2 tests.
I think the first one was a ball. The second one probably
a little bit more interesting
on the last day.
It didn't have the rain affected status of the first test. There was 14 wickets taken in that first test. 14,
yes.
Yeah, road.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the second test was a bit more of a road, and it took a lot to get going to make it actually an entertaining test, which was, the 5th day. They have finally got to that point, but it took a long time to get to it. But the third test had a lot more in it, especially with, we probably should say it, 2 collapses by the Pakistani team, especially once you got through the top order and into the bottom half, I don't want to say 2/3, but the back half of that the list, like they went through them, the tail. Well, maybe not. It's like got through the top 4, then everyone else afterwards. Went through them. Really quick.
Yeah, Rizwan and Fawad Alam are normally pretty handy with the bat. They didn't step up in this test, which makes that tail extra long. So trying to find an animal with a nice long tail to send to you boys to try and make some kind of joke. It was kind of a little bit lost, I think. But lemurs have quite long tails. There's a few lizards that have got tails that are about 3 times longer than their bodies. So quite reminiscent of the Pakistan team in this one. Let's recap quickly what happened in the test match. Australia batted first, made 391, 4 blokes getting to 50, no one going on. We're going to sing his praises in a minute. Usman Khawaja, 91. Cam Green, 79. Alex Carey, 67. Steve Smith, 59. That was all after a 2 for 8 start. I remember coming home Monday afternoon, again, that kind of elite viewing time for us here, kind of that 3:30 start, coming home from work, although you tend to miss that first little bit. Yeah. And I remember coming in and we were 2 for not much.
Well, I think I was the one joking. It was like, I thought this was meant to be a road. How did we lose 2 so quick?
Yeah, and credit where credit's due. That ball to Warner, that trapped him in front, that was an absolute seed from Shaheen Shah Afridi. And just a nice sort of length to Marnus, made him play outside the off. Didn't really look like it did too much, but that's where you want to do early on.
I think Marnus was forcing a little bit too much, I think, through this little test and the last test. I think seeing everyone else score runs, thinking, it's easy, I'll score runs, and probably throwing the bat at some stuff he'd usually leave alone. So.
Yeah, yes and no. I think he's a confident player. I think, when you're already arguably the best batter in the world.
Currently number one, yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time, he would middle one of those cover drives. I don't think he was doing anything too out of character, obviously. Sometimes you middle them, sometimes you schnick them up and go for a duck. But it was a nice steadying of the ship there from Khawaja and Smudge. It was a 138-run partnership to get us to 391. Really good input from the bat with Cam Green and Alex Carey. Cam Green has got a bunch of scores in the 70s now. I think that elusive ton will come. We'll talk a little bit more about him as we wrap up the series statistically. Pakistan 268, they started very, very well. Abdullah Shafiq with 81, Azhar Ali, Baba Azam, the usual suspects.
Yep.
They were 3 for 248, so only 150 behind us with 7 wickets in hand.
Yeah, well, looking like, Aussies batted for 2 days and looking like Pakistan were going to bat for the next 2 days. And then...
Definitely 2.5 days into this test match, we thought, here we go, another draw, a nil-all series, nil-all 3 test match series, less... than scintillating viewing. That was definitely my feeling. And then, absolute capitulation from Pakistan. They lost 7 for 20. They did go with the 5 specialist bowlers for this test, and hindsight's 2020. It did definitely come back to bite them in the bum.
Yep.
After Rizwan went, the tail was absolutely exposed. Pat Cummins and Mitch Stark cleaned them up. Cummins 5 for Starkey 4.
They had the ball hooping around. They got lots of nice swing in it.
Yeah, again, that reverse swing going.
Really made it hard for them and knocked them over. They were knocking the pegs over at at will. So
they go flying over there, don't they?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's how hard the deck is over there. It's you're pretty rare to see the stumps go flying down in Australia. It's in the subcontinent. They seem to go all over the place. Much like the stick cricket game. You get bowled and they just go everywhere. Anyways, Australia go out there. It was kind of interesting how they were going to approach this. They went out pretty aggressive. You could see that they were playing for a win pretty early on. Warner was going well before succumbing for 51. And that man, Usman Khawaja, another 104, not... I like the declaration. I think I was saying...
Well, before we move on from Aussie, what's his stats? Isn't he had like 500 runs?
Right, if you had a look at the notes, there's a whole segment on it.
Oh, you want to say... Okay. All right. I'm just wondering where we're going to start talking about Usman, because I think we've got to cover it.
Where we will. I put in the notes, series takeaways, and the first thing in that, Usman Khawaja. Anyway.
Well, I wasn't just talking about this series. I wanted to talk about his form coming playing in Australia.
Also in there.
Anyway, we'll finish here.
This is, have you done your homework? And everyone says yes. Everyone's done their homework, and then you rock up and you got this, the lab to do for science class. This was I'm speaking from personal experience. Yeah, I did the pre-reading, and then just getting absolutely carried by everyone else because I had done fuck all pre-reading. I hadn't looked at anything.
I'm pretty sure the only note in this for this was Steve Smith was terrible in the slips, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, the declaration.
Yes.
I think after what we saw in probably the first two tests, we weren't sure whether they batted too much or whether they were, Cummins had made the right decision. I think this one was the right one because it gave both teams something to play for. Like it gave, Pakistan had the option, they could chase, they could potentially win this test match, and it gave Australia enough time, not as much as it was in the second test, mind you. There was always the risk that, hey, Pakistan could play out the draw, but at least for them, they thought, well, worse, it's going to be a draw or they're going to have to push, and potentially we're going to get a lot more wickets. And we liked what we did. Running through their tail. So we know once we get through the top 4, the top 5, 6, we can then clean up the rest of them quite easily, which ended up being the case in this as well. So,
indeed.
Yeah.
So it was finding that balance, isn't it, between it being a risky declaration and risking the chance of losing the test match, or it being too much and Pakistan just going into their shell and playing for a draw. I'd said I think 350 would be good. I thought 300 might have been leaving a little bit fine. I thought 400 maybe a little bit too thick, and that's what Pat Cummins decided. So thanks for listening to our group chat there, Pat Cummins. I'm sure that came into your decision making there. But a lot of speculation in that second test, especially around had they batted for too long and did the captaincy and the lack of declaration in the second test prevent a possible win in that one.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Gutsy declaration turned out obviously to be the right one. Pakistan had 351 to make. They made 235. They were off to a good start. I was a little bit worried at stumps day 4. None for 73. Imam ul Haq had an excellent series. He made 70.
With 280 to chase and with the day left, you're like, you have all to play for. You start to worry about, these guys are in again and they're very hard to get out.
Indeed. Something we struggled with all series, getting these guys out.
Yep.
And it was the first time in the whole series where we went into a day 5 and we knew that there's a result on the table.
Yep.
Yes, the draw was still there, but more likely than the draw, it was a Pakistan or Australia win.
Someone's going to win.
It was definitely the best day's viewing, the most enticing day's viewing throughout the series. After that good start, Nathan Lyon did a little bit of damage. And then as soon as we, again, much like that first innings, as soon as we got through the likes of Babar Azam, Azhar Ali, he went a little bit earlier than usual. Once we got through Fawad Alam and Mohammad Rizwan, the tail did not offer much resistance. There was a few...
I think those bottom 5 put on 60. Across them. So I think they're all...
21, 22... I'm out.
Not even 60. 21, 1, 13, 5, 1. Quick maths. 45.
Yeah, they didn't put on a lot at the end there.
Indeed. So. And look, I don't know anyone that could have played some of these balls. The deck was starting to get a little bit variable in its bounce. Some of the ones from the quicks were absolutely unplayable.
Well, even Nathan Lyon, they're like, it'd either stay down or it might bounce out, and he was getting some decent turn. Like it was was doing everything as you'd expect a day 5 pitch to do. It wasn't a flat road like we had seen previously. So that was a good way to end the series, at least.
What about the Hassan Ali dismissal? You feel for the bloke. He had actually middled a few before this. He was really trying to push the envelope to try and score runs quick and try and assert some Pakistani dominance and try to swing the game back in their favour. He went for a big slog sweep, completely missed the ball. A little bit of that variable bounce we're talking about. This one actually popped up a little bit from Nathan Lyon, hit his grill on his helmet, spun straight over the back of him and into the stumps.
Yeah, like it was off his helmet and then his bat coming through. It hit his bat and then
did you reckon it hit the bat too?
It hit the bat as well, and then that pushed it down to then hit the stumps. Like it was so unlucky.
It was a comedy of errors and very unlucky. Watching it live, I didn't know what happened because I saw him miss the ball, and then I saw the stumps get broken.
And you think
2 seconds
you're
later,
like, did Kerry grab it and not like stump him or something like? But no.
I thought it might have hit the stumps like clean, and the bails took a while to come off. And then I watched the replay. I was like, oh, that's unlucky, poor fella. And then not much resistance after that. So first time in 24 years that the Australians win in Pakistan. Big caveat, obviously.
First time back.
First time back. But we have notoriously struggled to beat Pakistan in Asia. We'll get to that in just a second.
Struggled in Asia in general.
Yeah, indeed. Pat Cummins gets the final wicket. Get this, he's only the third Australian captain ever to win in Pakistan. Mark Taylor famously having that 334 knot. His team won over there. And Richie Benaud, the man who the series is named after, in the Benno Kadir series, he also won over there. You might just scroll him back up a touch there, Max, if you wouldn't mind. So obviously first time back in Pakistan for 24 years. They beat us in the Emirates in 2018-2019, 1-0. Beat us in the Emirates in 14-15, 2-0. And we actually beat them 3-0 way back in 02-03. So that's the last time that we beat Pakistan away. So 20 years ago. Names in that team: Langer, Hayden, Ponting, the War Brothers, Gilchrist, Warren, rest in peace, McGrath. The team that we kind of grew up with, that dominant late 90s, early noughties team was prior to Friday, the last team to beat Pakistan away. And 10 years since we'd won in Asia. So the last time we did that was beating Sri Lanka 1-0 in 2011. Coming up on 11 years since we've had a series win in Asia. Pakistan in Asia, done. Probably India in Asia next. Yeah, piece of cake. I reckon we do that next time pretty easily.
We'll roll.
All jokes aside, when do we beat India in India next? Do we ever beat India in India ever again? Who knows? But a monumentous occasion for both Australia and Pakistan. Pakistanis able to host this series. They had international cricket, but getting Australia obviously a pretty big draw card. It went, But
I think the other bit also being really competitive as well. They've got some talent. They've got some. The young 19-year-old, like he looks like an absolute weapon going forward. So
we'll have a look going forward. I think where Pakistan are at in just a second. I think I mentioned it in when we were talking about the first test. I thought we were actually going to go over there and roll these guys, considering they hadn't. Yeah. Not many of them had that much red ball experience. Obviously, very different with the white ball, and I was pleasantly surprised with how good some of these guys were.
I think the road helped a little bit.
Indeed. Now, that man Usman Khawaja, there's a whole segment here that we can talk about our boy Aussie. I've got some numbers.
I thought you were going to, the Australian Cricket Australia going to rule him out and keep him out as long as possible.
You thought Pepe was going to brush him for years like Cricket Australia did?
Definitely.
Well, let's start with that. Who was keeping Usman out of the side? Was it just the selectors? Was it JL? Was it Tim Payne? Was it I don't think it was the playing group, to be honest. They all seemed like very good mates. It probably, and I don't
who was getting picked over him?
Marcus Harris,
Joe Burns going back, Bancroft.
That's going back too far because the last time that Khawaja played before this recent recall was 2019. So essentially, Marcus Harris getting the nod over.
And he was maybe picked as a favourite because Dave Warner wanted to bat with him.
So. Yeah, Warner had outlined that, although Warner and Khawaja, good mates as well, played junior cricket together in Sydney growing up. So I don't think it was a David Warner thing. It was something to do with the JL selection committee, the administration at the time that was really set on trying to develop Marcus Harris, who at a Shield level has shown a bit of promise. He just hasn't been able to take his opportunity when given the baggy green, and the poor bloke, all of Australia lets him know about it.
Yeah. Matt Wade was another one, but he I think also kind of fell into the same situations as he did. The Cricket Australia didn't want to play him until he'd basically batted the house down and scored all the runs. They had to pick him. Yeah. Maybe it's age, because both those guys are in their 30s. So
great point. I think there was that kind of emphasis as to let's and
we want to get to
and with Pekowski, who has struggled with his concussion of late.
He's the favourite son.
Exactly, and Warner's getting on. So I think that's a really good point that you bring up there, Sean. Is that Khawaja 35, Warner a touch older. I think Cricket Australia were thinking, right, let's try and blood these young guys and get them established. So we've got our next, Langer and Hayden, if you will, an established opening pair.
Trying to get someone in that 26 to 28-year-old bracket.
Yeah, both Victorians, Pekowski and Harris, maybe that was behind some of their thinking. They could play together at Victoria and then just come through at an Australian level. But whoever was making the decision was making the fucking wrong decision.
They haven't cleared house, but there's been a bit of a rejig of late with the selectors, of course, across in Cricket Australia. So,
and then a lot of chat around, Usman's not an opener, because he bats 3 or 4 when he plays Shield cricket. He's opened so much for Australia, but in the past, and that's where he's done his best. He's getting the new rock.
Plus, being that's his heritage as well, to go over Pakistan and absolutely kill it. Well, that was great scene.
Well, he was never getting dropped after his back-to-back tons in Sydney, was he?
No.
Let's look at the series. So 496 runs in the series at 165, pretty handy, only dismissed 3 times. And this purple patch, so since coming back into the Australian cricket team after that 2 years in the wilderness, he's had 9 knocks, 4 tons and 2 50s. And mind you, both those 50s he was dismissed in the 90s. Yep. So 4 tons and twice very close to
almost making 6.
Yeah. So 131, 101 not out. That was in Sydney. Hobart, the only place that he struggled, bit of a green deck there, 6 and 11. And then since then, this series, 97, 160, 44 not, 91, 104 not, for a total of 751 runs since being recalled, and an average of 125.
Yep.
I don't think he's getting dropped anytime soon. Usman Khawaja, enjoy your time at the top of the order. I hope you play there until you retire.
I think maybe it was one of the Marsh. I can't remember. One of the old boys on commentary a while back, used to always shit on Usman that he can't play in Asia, but I think
Chappelli?
Yeah, it might have been.
Former mop of the week. To join Monks and myself in recipients of mops of the week.
But I think he's he's not a real good player of spin, blah blah. But hey, he did well in Pakistan. So
did he look like he struggled with spin? I thought that was one of his strong points.
Talking head's going to talk. So
of course, there's 3 right here.
Yes. We're not old blokes yet.
Yeah, we're not old. We also never played cricket for Australia, so I don't think people hold our opinion with much stead. But no, I tend to agree. There was a lot of, he can't do this and he can't do that. Yeah. And then when you looked purely at the numbers, you're like, this is a bloke who before this, I think now he's averaging about 48 in Test cricket.
Yep.
And before this purple patch was averaging about 43. Had can you bring up his numbers? I think before this purple patch, I think he might have had 8 Test centuries already.
Yep.
Obviously a proven guy. I just don't know why it took so long for him to come back in. And again, no disrespect to Marcus Harris, but had been given opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And Usman took the most of his. So where's he at now? He's got 12 tons now, doesn't he?
12 tons now.
And average 47 something?
Averaging 47. So he's got 3 tons against England, 3 tons against Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So all 3 of those tons were these this tour, I should say.
Yep.
So already proven against England. What about the numbers against India? Has he played much against India?
India, he's played 4 matches against India, so I suppose not too much, but
at 25.
That was
at 28. So that's maybe the question mark.
And that might have been in India as well, that test. That kind of rings a bell. And I think some of the stigma, I think they were talking about, like he can't play spin. But that could just be that's in India. Like, no one can. Who can?
Who scores runs in India? Joe Root. Joe Root can score runs in India.
Similar average against Sri Lanka as well.
Yep.
Between
playing on landmines.
11 and 19. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's any question marks on his ability to play spin. And yeah, like you say, with him, being born in Pakistan and what it meant for him and what it meant for the fans, it was so good to see so much love for Usman Khawaja.
Yep.
They were really.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because the two teams that basically had to bunk together. They're in the same hotel, and by all accounts, they got on really well. Like they actually, instead of not interacting with each other and trying to be at each other's throats, they were actually very, very close. Got together. Sounds like there's some friendships. Guys probably played together elsewhere, IPL, etc. So yeah, it was good to see that it wasn't, it was a fun, competitive, like gentleman's game versus some of the bicker in your niggly kind of games that we've seen in the past.
By all accounts, very hospitable and the fans very welcoming. You saw
the crowds were excellent.
Yeah, so many signs.
School kids getting pulled out and they're taking whole schools.
Exactly, and signs about the Australian players, written in English so they could see them. A lot of love for Marnus, I noticed. A lot of love for Pat Cummins. Really interesting series, and really good to see cricket back in Pakistan. Those horns can get absolutely fucked. They were very annoying. Yeah, the Vuvuzela, reminiscent of the 2010 Soccer World Cup with the Vuvuzela. That was one takeaway. Usman Khawaja should probably never. Well, after he got dropped, he should have been back in the side a lot earlier. I think anyone in Australia could have told you that.
Yep.
Going forward, I hope he opens the batting for Australia until he retires. And that's no disrespect to Marcus Harris, and obviously wishing Will Pugovski all the best with his recovery. But I think Usman has most certainly cemented that spot. He's 35, is he not?
Yeah, which might be good for Will, because it probably buys Will a bit of time. It's like, I don't need to rush back into the side.
Don't need to be rushing him.
Just get a whole bunch of cricket on your belt, get a couple, maybe even like a year worth of cricket where you get, you've played, had no concussion issues, you're feeling good, and then, Usman's like, I'm done, I'm finishing up. And then you can walk straight back into the squad.
Even with Pukovski coming back in and I know it's hard to keep people away from the sport that they love, and concussion's such a insidious one. It's not like if you've got a broken leg or an ACL that's missing where you literally can't go out there. Your brain might be feeling good.
Yeah, well, that shit's repairable as well. So an extent.
Well, I'm just saying in terms
quality of life, etc.
My point more being
your brain's a bit different.
My point being, Will probably wanting to get back out there, I kind of thought, again, not a doctor, I kind of thought, well, maybe rest him, because there are only a few games left in the Shield, then you've got the whole off-season to work on it, but obviously he's keen to get out there and score runs. Hard to keep people away from doing the things that they love.
Yes.
Point number 2, Cameron Green is very, very good at the cricket.
Yeah. Well, you remember our conversation we had about how did we get Swepson in the squad, and we were talking about how, Cummins and Hazelwood are very similar bowlers, so Hazelwood misses out. The thing we
elite call from you, which I was very surprised with.
Yeah, which it kind of worked out as well, because you had Starkey with the swing. That's what you wanted to get out of him. But I think the thing we missed was Cameron Green also bowls that similar sort of line and length, and he can do that job for you. So potentially he's kind of filling in as your third quick, which was he doing in this series. So you could get Swepson in. I think Swepson was maybe a little bit unders for what you were hoping to get out of him in this.
He had a rough start to his Test career. I also had a rough first few games. Shane Warne.
Yeah.
It's hard to go there.
It's a debutant. It's in Asia as well.
Asia, exactly right.
But you want to get him match time, and this is probably the best time to get him. You can, because the conditions suit playing the two spinners while you wait for the GOAT to see out his career and then retire, and then you may be the replacement. So
he doesn't look like slowing down anytime.
No, not at all.
He looked very good on that day 5 deck there in Lahore.
Oh, all the tricks. So, but that's the other thing you want, if you can get Swepson, on the pitch, watching Nathan Lyon bowling that and seeing how the tricks he's using and how can I then take some of that and apply it, you do it. So, but Cameron Green gives you that option, I think is what my point, that we kind of missed out of when we had that conversation is like, it's bad for Hazelwood, it's bad for Boland, but, if the situation arises, they've got Cameron Green that can get in there and do your job and do a really good job at that.
Bowls 140 and bat 6.
Yeah, like it's
11 tests for Cameron Green to get 15 wickets, 500 runs, 10 catches. One other player has done that, and he's a Knight, Sir Ian Botham. You might have heard of him. So they're the only two to do it that quickly. So Green and Botham doing it quicker than guys like Steve Waugh, who obviously bowled a lot more as a younger player. Get guys like Jux Callis, Ben Stokes, pretty handy company to be in there for Cameron Green.
As a comparison, you want him to be our Ben Stokes and then hopefully eclipse that. Like that's where you want him to go.
Yeah, and even getting to just being Ben Stokes for all that he's been through, and as much as we don't really like him as Australian fans, but you have to respect the talent that
he's the second best English player they've got. So.
Definitely, and arguably the best all-rounder currently in the world. I think Ravi Jadeja might have something to say about that as well. Let's say arguably the best fast bowling all-rounder in the world at the moment. Yep. If Cam Green could get to being like an Australian Ben Stokes, we'd be thrilled with that.
Absolutely thrilled. And he's so young, it's crazy.
He's 22. He's 22, isn't he? What's his numbers, Monks? Current test average, current bowling average. Obviously, that 100 has eluded him. That's coming for sure. I think he has sort of mentioned as well. He gets through 50, and then he starts getting a little bit in his own head about scoring his maiden test ton. What are the numbers?
He's still so young though. Yeah. He could literally play for another 15 years for Australia, which is bananas.
It is.
Test
average around 35?
36.4. His high score is 84.
Yep. How many 50s? 5?
50s, yeah, 5 50s. Yep. And then I switched to bowling.
Such a big man, he bats so well.
And such a big man to field in the gully, and the way that he moves fielding in the gully, that's an represented part of his game.
Did he play any basketball growing up?
Good question. I am not sure.
Mark's Chase's history for us.
Just check up everything. Can we get a bowling average before you do that?
30.8.
So there we go. We talk about those ratios about elite all-rounders.
I guarantee you it was either basketball or AFL. He probably had to have played something else.
Well, he's from WA. I suspect he played a bit of footy growing up. I don't think that's too far of a reach. But going back to those numbers, averaging 36 with the bat and 31 with the ball, already over that 1-to-1 ratio. You love to see that out of Cam Green. Next point, Stephen Smith not quite at his best. You mentioned before there's a few little drops in the slips, although on day 5 he took them when they took them when it mattered. That one at his ankles was a really nice catch. It's a kind of Coley-like at the moment, isn't it? They're both getting to 50 and then converting their 50s into hundreds.
He's still doing a job. Like he's still coming in and doing what he needs to do. But he's not.
He also averages like 59 and like I'm obviously a massive Steve Smith fan, and I just want to see him go out there and break the hoodoo a little bit. Getting to 50 and not converting a little bit.
Yeah, I have no complaints about his batting. I think it was more his slip fielding was the under question, and it seemed like he was either distracted, maybe because he's got a bit of captaincy duty to do, or distracted, not paying attention, or the guys were getting stuck into him, the commentators that is, about not using the right techniques.
Again, Steve Smith doesn't know how to cash. Please, everyone drops a few.
Just like you say, it's probably just a rough patch. It was warm out there, so
and wasn't that interesting that the contrast between Rawalpindi in the first test when it was like 17 degrees at times and everyone's wearing their vests. To
high 30s, to mid 30s in the last one.
Mid to high 30s in Karachi and Lahore.
Yeah. So, it is
what it is. I'm not worried.
Well, it becomes more of an issue if it's a long-term problem. Like we see it series
like Coley.
Still hasn't got a century since when?
I don't know, but he's made a lot more test centuries than we ever had. But again, big talking point. It's been over 2 years for Virat. To take it away from Virat and back to Smudge, I'm not concerned. I think it's just one of those things, Usman's in a purple patch. Steve is in a purple patch at the moment. Unbelievable talent, and I think it's only a matter of time before he scores his next Test 100.
Oh, well, the problem is he then starts getting to Virat Kohli territory, and then everyone's talking about it, and it's all they're focusing on. And it becomes a bit of a monkey. So it's
I don't think it's a monkey just yet.
Do you reckon he'll get that same attention though? Because He's not currently captain at the moment, where Coley was captain.
He's still Steve Smith though.
Well, how are we scaling attention on a global scale?
Yeah.
No
one gets Coley attention.
Exactly, and it's not even been a big talking point in our media after Sandpaper Gate. I don't think a slight form slump in terms of being headline news in the mainstream media. I don't think it'll be a big talking point for quite some time.
Yeah.
And last series takeaway, I've already sort of touched on it already. Pakistan are back. Really good effort from them. Could have easily won this series. Had a few different things gone their way. We struggled in the first two tests to bowl them out. That was evident. So really good effort from our bowlers in the third test. Naseem Shah and Shaheen Shah Afridi are both young. They look very good. They'll only continue to get better. That elite middle order that we already knew about. Babar Azam is a quality player. Mohammad Rizwan is a quality player. Azhar Ali, very good, although is getting on a little bit. So it will be, he'll hand this team over to Babar, and it essentially, it will, like, he's the captain in waiting.
Yeah, definitely.
A breakout series. Abdullah Shafiq and Imam ul Haq opening the bat. I did mention it, how inexperienced at test level a lot of these guys were going into the series. They show that they can really play. So a lot to take forward for Pakistani cricket fans.
Definitely, and they've shown the white ball form, like they've got some good quality talent there, and showed in the red ball form. Excellent.
And we've got 3 ODIs and a T20 coming up this week. I would be surprised if we win that ODI series. Pakistan white ball, very, very good.
How different is that squad going to be?
Their squad.
I think their squad will be very. I mean, more the Australian squad.
The Australian squad.
Who have they taken with them?
Marnus won't play white ball cricket.
Yep.
Hard to see Khawaja in there. Hard to see Cameron Green in there. Sweption, hard to see him in there. You'd imagine Zampa comes in. Lyon, hard to see in there. Yeah. So half the team probably changes.
Yeah. They have got squad over there, James. I was just wondering who they're taking with them.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind chasing that one up, the ODI squad. I'd imagine about half our team changes.
I'll just run through the full list here. So Aaron Finch obviously captaining up the front there. Then we've got Sean Abbott, Ashton Agar, Jason Berendorf, Alex Carey, Nathan Ellis, Cam Green, Travis Head, Josh Inglis, Marnus.
Full squad. All the boys are there.
Marsh, McDermott.
Yeah, McDermott, Kane, Richardson, Stoinis. Swepson is listed there. Zampa.
So no Smith, no Warner for that ODI series. They must just be having a break. So it will look very, very different. Mitch Marsh, we've spoken at length about his white ball form. You'd imagine he slots straight in there somewhere. It'll be interesting to see, actually, who is in that side. The only definites will be Finch, obviously, as skipper. Carey will be the number one wicket-keeping choice. Mitch Marsh has to be straight in. Stoinis, Zampa, I'd imagine, straight in. Outside of that, who knows? We've spoken a lot about Ben McDermott. I'd love to see him get a crack and take advantage of it because he's done so well at a domestic level and hasn't shown it on the international stage just yet.
Did you get an answer on Cameron Green for us?
Yes, I could not find anything on any other sports.
I guarantee you, as a young Western Australian, he played Australian rules football growing up. As to whether or not if there's a basketball history, I don't know. I'd imagine he played a fucking lot of cricket.
Yeah, from the sounds of it, he's been playing like elite cricket since very early age. So maybe just dedicated himself to that.
Doesn't surprise me.
Looks like he debuted for Sheffield Shield at like 17, 18.
Yeah.
Off a pretty good average. So
they gave that. I thought they would. Penalty try.
Yes.
Sorry.
A little caveat. We do have some rugby league on in the background. Might not mean a whole lot for some of our international listeners, but we will touch on that when we get to our rugby league
very short
segment. Staying in cricket, England look in big trouble over in the West Indies. They got dismissed for 204, a really strange-looking scorecard, this one. They were 8 for 90. 8 for 90 and managed to make 204. Pretty rare that you see a scorecard read like this. Top scorer, number 11, Sakeed Mahmood with 49. Second top scorer, Jack Leach, 41. We saw his ability or lack of ability during the Ashes with the bat. And then the next top scorer was Alex Lee's opener. So number 11, top scorer. Number 10, second top scorer. I wonder if that's ever happened in Test history, mind you. The young quicks from West Indies look really good. Jaden Seals, Kyle Mayers looking really well. Looking like they'll have a really good career. And the Windies made 297 off the back of 100 not out from keeper Josh De Silva. The Poms sort of shared the wickets there, and they're 8 for 103 now, so they currently have a lead of 10 runs. You imagine West Indies make a very easy job of finishing off this test.
Quick stats on Rick in here. They've already England have 11 ducks already on the year. They had 54 last year.
Yeah, and 54 was equal their own record for most in a calendar year. They also do play a lot of Test cricket as well, so you have to take that into consideration. But yeah, 11 ducks already, mate. It's only March. I don't know who they're playing later on in the year, but they might be breaking another Quackaroo record.
Well, yeah, they've got another 9 months to go, and they're averaging 4 a month. So yeah,
quick maths.
They could get there.
Quick maths. That gets us to 44, so just behind. Yeah. Anyways, semantics. Women's World Cup has been going on in New Zealand. The Aussies, geez, they haven't lost a game. It's can you just bring up the remaining games left? So we're finished. The way it works is that there is 8 teams. They're all in one big group. So they all play each other once, and then the top 4 go through. So we're guaranteed of finishing first. It's just a question of who will finish fourth.
It's 1-4, then 2-3.
1-4 and 2-3. Yep, knockouts. So would hate to win every group game and get knocked out in the semi-final. Yes. So unsure who it will be just yet. I think it could be England, it could be the West Indies, it could be India.
Potentially India. Even New Zealand is in there. India is one match behind England, West Indies and New Zealand.
So England and West Indies have played there. That's important information there.
Yeah.
England and West Indies are done.
Yep.
Who does England...
So India,
it's just India and South Africa who are playing at the moment. Actually, if you so much going on, bring up a live score between India and South Africa. That will give us a good indication as to who Australia will play. Really good series.
Great game by all accounts. So
yeah, and a really good series out of the Aussie Beth Mooney. She's really stamping her authority out there on an international stage. Obviously, the likes of Elise Perry and Alyssa Healy are already very established internationally, but Beth Mooney really coming on.
I can see the score on your screen there, Peppy. They've got South Africa to chase 230 more.
Yeah, so
one down. So
274 for India, South Africa 1 for 46 after 10 overs. So anyone's game there. Yep. And then so the next time we talk about the Women's World Cup, it will be finals time. It'll be crunch time. It's been a really nice tournament so far. Good to see a fair few people in the crowd over there in New Zealand. I love the Kiwi grounds. You know, they've got that small town kind of feel.
Well, they are generally smaller grounds.
Yeah. Well, literally, for anyone who's not really that familiar with the geography of New Zealand, Auckland is a city of over 1 million people, and then outside of that, there are no cities over 1 million people. So Christchurch, Wellington, I think they're about Canberra size, the city that we live here. In Australia, sort of 400, sort of half a mil. And then some of the places that they play, like Napier and Dunedin and Hamilton, are literally like small towns. So I really like the feel amongst some of those grounds. It kind of feels like a first grade country towns cricket field. And then to see, when you see a few thousand people in one of those grounds, the atmosphere is a lot better than say.
Yeah, well, they're all sitting on the hill, right on the fence.
On the hill, right there, it's nice and close to the players. Looks a lot better than say having 4,000 in the MCG.
Yes.
Or a weekly occurrence in the NRL at ANZ Stadium. Wishing the girls all the best. Obviously, we're rooting for an Australian win. And by the way that they've been playing, anything less than that would probably be a disappointment.
Bit unders, yeah.
IPL kicked off last night. That snuck up very, very quickly. Did not catch much of this one. It was quite late in the night. But Kolkata getting a win over Chennai Super Kings, so beating the defending champions. The Super Kings batted first, got off to a bit of a slow start before, the ageless MS Dhoni coming out there and just doing what Dhoni does, 50 off 38. They got him to just 131. Umesh Yadav doing the damage with the ball for the Knight Riders, and then Ajinkya Rahane with a big chip on his shoulder, I think, after what's happened in the national team.
Yep.
Yeah, he made a good 44. They were pretty much always on track. Good chip-ins in the middle order from the likes of Shreyas Iyer, Sam Billings and Nitish Rana. And that is match one done. Knight Riders.
Is there a second game?
There will be one this evening. So Delhi Caps, Delhi, Mumbai Indians. So definitely
That'll be a good game.
Yeah, obviously all Delhi Caps fans now.
Converted.
Yeah. Well, that's right. They wanted to talk to us, so we'll jump wherever we get jump on wherever we get support, wherever we get attention. You know, we flock to that. So now, in all seriousness, looking forward to seeing that. It'll be interesting to see. Because of the crossover, so Stoinis is at the Caps. He's with the Australian cricket team in Pakistan, and David Warner being the big signing for the Caps. Will he be playing in this game tonight? Does anyone know? Does any of the listeners know?
Does it have table? I don't think he'll be playing in this game.
Why not?
Fulfilling their national commitments.
David Warner is out fulfilling national commitments.
I'm not sure.
Arik Nordkjær is
he in their best bats? I know that's
Warner.
hard to say for David Warner.
Yeah. Yep. They threw big money on him.
I figured.
Yeah.
I was just,
did I say Stoinis before? Mitch Marsh.
Miss Marsh.
Yeah. Mitch Marsh.
You did say Stoinis.
They both get me aroused.
Yes. the big men that get you aroused.
Yeah. That's no further comment on that one. Does that wrap up the week in cricket? I think it's pretty close.
I think it does, yeah.
We've got
a lot going on.
IPL to follow. Us as Australian fans will look towards this one-day series.
Well, we'll cover the first week of IPL next week. The next week's body. We'll go into detail about
do a full wrap-up. And, a few weeks ago. It seems like just a few weeks ago we were talking about the auction and all the excitement around that.
Well, that was middle Feb, so it's definitely, moves quickly.
Yeah. Where does the time go? Huh? Mm-hmm. That's it. Cricket.
That's it for cricket.
Done.
Yep.
Beautiful. Okay, let's talk about some rugby league. We're currently watching the Brisbane Broncos take on the North Queensland Cowboys at Suncorp Stadium. 8-6 Cowboys. Will continue to monitor that game as it unfolds.
Well, they had the penalty try there before for Herbie Farnsworth. Did get tackled by Felt as he was probably the closest to scoring, so they gave it to him. And they look to be a little bit on top here. They've been running down the right side quite easily on the Cowboys. Being Brisbane. So they're getting some good meters there over the advantage line against the Cowboys. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Both these teams, I think I said it before at the start of the potty, are very close, very similar where they currently are squad-wise. So would say this game's going to probably be back and forth throughout.
Speaking of games that were back and forth, really close, really good efforts from both sides. The Dragons went down narrowly to the Cronulla Sharks. Let's move on to the next topic.
Water is wet.
Cronulla absolutely pants the Dragons on my birthday nonetheless. Thanks for that, lads. Really got my hopes up after you too. Yeah. After a really good showing 2 weeks ago against the defending champions in the Penrith Panthers. Nico Hines was absolutely brilliant.
He looks like a 7, so
doesn't he? There was so much conjecture as to
him and Finucane Buzz of the year. So
unbelievable, and so much conjecture. Maybe he was just good because he was in the Melbourne system. He's never played 7. He's playing 1 and 6. He
just has good size and good ball playing. Like
it's unbelievable. His kicking game is really good. His footy IQ for a bloke his age
his mind
is unbelievable. Yep. So an excellent buy there for the Sharks. They had a good showing against the Raiders in round 1. They're not that far off being 3-0. So well done to them.
Does this change our prediction from the start of the year? Did they run deep into the finals now?
Well, what do we have? We like all had them. Yeah, we all had them like 7-ish, didn't we?
I still think that's fair. Looking at the other squads that we thought they're still doing what we thought they'd do. Manly's probably the one that I think struggling the most, but
two games. But
having said that,
they did the same.
That's Manly. That's classic Manly.
I think
warm up to it.
We need to not get too far ahead of ourselves. Yeah. It being the third week, it's a long season. We know the toll of injury as well in NRL.
I suppose that's it.
But I think I'll agree. From what I've seen, I probably would have them just that little bit further up than say a seventh. Are they a top 4 team?
Not with the other 4.
Not when you.
Roosters also have been
Roosters have been a little bit lackluster.
Yeah, they've just. I think they haven't gelled yet because that team, compared to last year's team, is also very different. So Roosters had 2 teams essentially last year.
They did.
So,
the team that was all injured.
Their grade team was pretty much their first grade team last year.
So now they've kind of trying to re-establish all their chemistry and their style. So that's going to take a little while. So I still think they've got an elite roster, but it might take them a little bit to get to that point.
Yep.
But I still think they're probably a top 4 side based on that roster.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Again, it's early.
Yeah.
I think.
Let's see what it is after round 10, and then
let's say something that we can probably all agree with. Penrith and Melbourne will finish in the top 4.
Yeah,
pretty hard to see that not happening.
Yep.
So that leaves 2 spots.
Yep.
Am I chips in on Cronulla being one of those 2 teams? Nah, not just yet. Am I impressed with the way that they've started? Yes.
Yep.
And that's a good caveat into teams that have not been impressive. The Warriors got a win against the Tigers at Campbelltown Stadium. Didn't catch much of this one. I was out for dinner.
Well, you know how I said last week the Warriors-Sharks game was the worst game I'd ever watched? If I'd watched this game, it would have been. For all accounts, this Tigers-Warriors games was dreadful.
Did anyone watch this game?
No.
I was out for dinner.
Did anyone? I feel
in the
poor Tigers and Warriors fans, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Warriors actually have quite a big backing, obviously being the only team from New Zealand, and the poor West Tigers. I think they're in for a long season again, as predicted.
They're always talking. They're still talking about Luke Brooks being the Messiah, but I don't think at this point he's at the end of his career.
Yeah,
he hasn't really put it all together to what you.
He's not at the end of his career. He's still young.
He's played 10 years in NRL, so like as
an age on Luke Brooks
for someone that's meant to establish himself as an elite halfback, and he's 10 years in his career, he's probably past that point. Unfortunately,
the old Simpsons. Where's your Messiah now? He's no Messiah for Luke Brooks. Is that what you're saying? Here, 1994. That makes him 27. So look, rugby league's a tough game. So maybe 5 to 7 years left in him.
Yeah. Like, he'd still play a long time, but to see him to turn into Nathan Cleary is like,
probably not. I tend to agree with you there. I think there was a bit of a contentious call at the end of this one. I didn't know. I was out at dinner, and it was the birthday dinner, and the wife said, did you mind going to an early? They had the old 2 seat times available, the 6 o'clock or the 8 o'clock, and 6 o'clock's quite early for dinner. But I thought, I looked at the footy, and then we had we had. On Friday night, we had the back end of Australia and Pakistan. We had Buddy Franklin kicking 1,000 goals, which we'll talk about in a sec. And we had Souths and Roosters, one of the oldest rivalries in the NRL. I said, no, 6 o'clock's great. Let's go and have an early dinner, babe. That 6 o'clock sounds much better than 8. And then, getting into that Souths Roosters game, did we?
Oh, before the Tigers, Maguire, I don't think he's going to be around for probably another month, and then I think they'll give him the key.
Yeah, I think if anyone's...
They'll turn it over to Tim Sheens sooner rather than later.
And that's your tip, Tim Sheens to come back?
Well, he's already in the, his consultants.
Exactly.
He's in the club already, so whether he actually becomes a coach, maybe they'll go with one of the assistants, but by all accounts, Tim Sheens is there in the building, and it wouldn't be long until his fingers are all over it, I think.
Does someone snap up, Madge? We're talking about someone who won the comp 5 years ago. 6 years ago?
Don't know. Maybe needs to take a year off or go somewhere, rebuild a little bit, and then come back. It's
I don't know how much he can do with the squads that he gets, with the strange business decisions that they make.
It's a terrible squad.
Inability to hold on to local juniors. One of the biggest feeder areas, all the other NRL clubs
in the NRL.
Penrith has a massive feeder area. The Broncos and Gold Coast.
Penrith probably shows what you can do when you can retain your talent.
Well, nearly all of those guys played together growing up. Cleary, Luai, Yo. To'o.
Because Penrith are in the same spot. They're at the bottom 8 for a long time. Losing guys going elsewhere, getting picked off, trying to buy guys to come down, and it didn't really work. And then they managed to retain a lot of the young talent, build around that talent, and then probably. I'd say they're definitely favourites, and I would go further to say they're probably a step ahead of the competition currently as we sit 2 weeks in.
I'd agree. Nearly three.
3 weeks. Yeah. It's almost finished.
End of second week.
South Roosters. This was a little bit surprising, I thought, given how well South played after not playing that well in round 1, losing to Brisbane and that golden point thriller. Against Melbourne in round 2. Latrell was very, very good in this one. 28-16. It finished. Cameron Murray, did you guys see his press conference? This is the most rugby league thing I've ever seen in my life. The bloke had an absolute blinder, topped the fantasy scores, made a bunch of tackles. I think he had maybe 140-odd run meters. Copped a big knock. And I swear to God, his left ear was barely attached to his head. Sitting in the press conference, blood just pissing out of it. They couldn't even, go just wipe down his head a little bit, maybe tape it up, get him looking a little bit
fill
more.
It up with Vaso or something.
Yeah. Bring that up. We need to get this on our socials. Cameron Murray press conference from Friday night. He had an absolute blinder. Should be playing for New South Wales and arguably Australia this year. He split his ear. He looked like he'd just been in the octagon in the UFC. And he's there talking to the journos, answering the questions. No worries. Tough nut. Absolute tough nut. Yeah, see if you can bring that up. For any of our live listeners, if you want to look for Cameron Murray press conference, this one here. Yeah. Obviously, you need to see. It doesn't make for great listening. We need to get the Joe Rogan set up. When what Jamie's searching comes up on the That looks better than what I was looking at.
It's still swollen as all shit.
Man,
So
it doesn't look right.
And it was actively bleeding during the press conference. Anyways, he's a tough nut, and he'll play a lot of representative football going forward.
So Penrith got the win then over the Knights. That was next on the list.
Yeah, Mitch Barnett. Yes, this was pretty bad. Bit of a brain explosion.
Yeah.
Was sort of the ball.
Talking about a guy that was thinking about octagon,
elbows into the jaw of Smith, the Penrith player. I don't know if he's had his scans yet. He would have had to go for x-rays. I don't know if he's got a broken jaw. Let's hope he doesn't. This was brain fart kind of stuff. Running across in cover defence. Was nowhere near the ball and just hung an elbow out.
So was he binned or sin binned?
Sent or sin binned?
Yes.
He was sent off, and it was the first time a Knights player had been sent off in 9 years. The fact that the Knights kept this close after this had happened was reflective of, I think, where they're at. They did end up going down 38-20, I believe, but I think that
they're a much better squad than we gave them credit for.
Much better squad than everyone gave them credit for.
Got some physio on that spine, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. That spine doesn't.
Or chiropractor, something else.
Either or. One's based in evidence, one's based in bullshit. I won't.
Say which one?
I won't. Put any more further comment on that.
I'm a real doctor.
But it was really late actually that Penrith. So Penrith scored in the 77th and 79th minute. So before then, that's 10. It was 28-20 with 12 men for a lot of the game. So well done to Newcastle. And I agree. People ourselves included, hadn't been putting enough respect on their 6 and 7 in Jake Clifford and Adam Clune. Being a Dragons fan, saw a lot of Adam Clune last year. Look, didn't think he was a bad player, just didn't think he was, an upper echelon 7. I'm not saying that he is just yet. I just think he's a little bit better than maybe I gave him credit for or the everyone else gave him credit for. And then Jake Clifford coming down, I think that was a really good signing for them. He's shown a lot. Kalen Ponga, MCL strain. I don't think he's going to be out for too long from all accounts.
Very good, very good. But Penrith going to Penrith. They did their
job.
They're still showing their elite.
They're 3-0 and they're premiership favourites for a good reason.
Yeah, and you had the note there of Isaiah still being so good. Like, if he can avoid concussion, that's his biggest weakness at this point.
Yeah, but
he can ball play the shit out of it.
Dude, he's like a 108 kilo halfback. The way that he moves and his footy IQ and the way that him and Cleary and Luai play off each other, it's like having a third half out there.
Yeah.
And you know, it's this is probably a poor comparison. You know, Jack Whiten being that big 5'8" who can, you know, whose ball playing is that good. Like Jack Whiten could play 13. I think.
Oh yeah, he could. I reckon he could add the 5 kilos. You probably after 5 to 10 kilos and play 13.
And maybe it's a rough analogy. Yo being a bit bigger and a bit slower, but in Yo's footy IQ is elite.
Well, you could say his ball playing might even be better than Jack's because
there's an argument there.
Just passing the ball around.
Yeah, he passes the ball. That's a good start.
Yeah. Indeed, he should be a shoe-in to play 13 for New South Wales. Mate, New South Wales, I don't know. We've got so many options. I know it's round 3, and we don't want to be talking too much about Origin just yet. But it gets me very, very aroused thinking about the fact that we could have Isaiah Yeo, Cam Murray, Tyson Frizzell, Victor Radley. That back row is going to be really good, and who ends up getting the starting 13 job, and then who's coming off the bench for a bit of relief.
And then you work out how many fullbacks you're going to play in the back 5. So,
well, Pappy's been back playing pretty good as well, hasn't he?
Put him on the wing.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be some iteration of Tedesco, Latrell, Tommy Turbo, who has been a bit quiet, but I'm sure he'll come.
He'll come good by that time.
Dally M, Player of the Year last year, and one of the best seasons we've ever seen out of anyone ever. So I don't think 2 quiet games is going to keep him out of the New South Wales side. Again, let's leave that conversation for a few months' time. But I think Yo will definitely retain that number 13 jersey.
So you mentioned Paparazzi a second ago.
Yeah.
Storm Eagles was the last game for... Well, actually, no, there was 2 games yesterday. Well, the middle game. Let's go with that.
We got that.
A game yesterday.
There was 3 games yesterday. Saturday. I was just like, I'm trying to work it out. But this one went to Golden Point and ended up with a thriller off the post.
Lucky Storm sleeping.
Yeah. Apparently, Brad Arthur was saying that it's something that they've all tried to stay aware of, is being onside on a field goal attempt. Yep. So Raystone made sure that he was onside and then was able to follow up the Mitch Moses field attempt and then just scooped it up and fell over the try line to win the game. Couldn't believe it.
I believe he potentially blew his ACL as well in the process.
I did see some reports.
If not, it looks like it's non-contact knee injury.
So it's not confirmed. He'll have to go for scans. Yeah. Let's touch on that quickly. I think through the first 2 rounds there was 6 ACLs, and I think there potentially has been 2 already this year. Is it this round? Is it something to do with the surfaces this year? La Nina, wet surfaces? Is it something like... It just seems
maybe because the grass is usually really good for movement. It's especially in the States. They hate playing on the fake
it's the hard surface.
It's the hard stuff because it doesn't give you any give in your when you're trying to make those moves. It's just... You know, it's maybe a symptom of where professional sport is at the point. You know, these boys, during the week are probably doing 100K lifts all the time, and they're just putting the extra strain on the
body.
And then they are also, 100 plus kilos, 120 kilo guys.
More force through.
Yeah, more force, exactly. So you're probably putting more work on those ligaments, and then also stressing them, trying to change directions for bigger dudes. It's a pretty known. There's probably no scientific evidence to back it up. But in the NFL, you see guys that come out of college, especially linebackers, come out there 220 and then they 250, and they'd usually blow out their ACL because their knees haven't really adapted to the extra 30 pounds they've put on in their body weight.
Interesting.
They're still like, my legs still think I'm 220, whereas I'm now carrying this extra weight. And you're putting extra force through those areas, and it just can be unfortunate. Because my point, I think, being with the sports way it is, you go back to the 80s and 90s, it wasn't a huge thing like that. But then also sports science wasn't massive to where it is to today.
Yeah, well, that's why you'd think with all the modern advances in sports science and medicine that we'd be better at preventing these injuries.
But it is a ligament, though, so it's not like a muscle which it can be trained. And worked. And
but the whole idea is that a strong, all the
muscle structure should be
muscle around
is
supporting the knee. That's all your rehab focuses on, and all prevention of doing ligament.
Well,
it's something that probably we can't discuss off the cuff in 5 minutes.
No,
it's probably something that needs a lot of extensive research going into it.
But it could just be very much they train more for power than they do for stability. Is the other thing. Like they're young lads trying to get huge.
Yeah.
So that's what they focus on more. But of course, they have the club and they have the head trainers and all the guys there. But young blokes going to do what they're going to do, and maybe they don't. Working. Let's just take quads for example. It is a muscle of 4. They focus on the big ones and not maybe the inner ones, which helps more stability, as an example. So,
such as physio, Sean?
I'm not the physio. I only know because I've got bad inner quads. Because I've got a bad left knee for that reason, because it's not strong enough to support my kneecap.
So a big thing is quad strengthening for ACL stability. You look at the legs on these guys; they don't look like any of our legs here. Let's put it that way, especially not the old emu legs over here. It's a weird phenomenon. We saw it last year, and touch wood, it doesn't continue, but we've seen already
can I make
more than we'd like.
Can I make one further point? So one of the things that I dislike about the NRL currently is I think the player body type has become too cookie cutter. Yeah. Everyone's in that 1 to 120, got to be 6 foot or above, and that's like across the board. You have a few couple of guys that come in, they're a bit skinny, like you think of Jason Campbell, and Jaden, sorry, and you think the chat all off season was he's put on weight, like he had to get bigger because he couldn't play that size.
Which he did. He's still undersized, but he was a rakeler. He was very, very.
But I think it's kind of gotten a bit.
And that's the style of the game now. It's quicker. There's less interchanges. You want your forwards a bit smaller than possibly in yesteryear. But you want your backs a bit bigger than in yesteryear. Exactly,
but it's taken out the little men and it's taken out the real big boys. So. Like Junior Paulo is probably the biggest guy in the league currently, but he's like the only one of that kind of build.
Yeah, there's not too many 120 kilo boppers getting around these days.
Papali's probably pretty close, but again, he's leaned up in as well to play his role.
Jeez, he was good last night. We'll talk about that in a sec.
Exactly. So, that's probably the one thing talk about the NFL. I love about that is it doesn't matter what size you are, as long as you're elite, you can get played.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a position for you.
We're literally talking about old Daniel Farley. Falele, I need to get his pronunciation down before the draft, who might go in at 180 kilos, and then you talk about wide receivers, say like Devonta Smith last year, who's 160 pounds, which in real terminology is about 78 kilos. No, it's not even that.
Is it Mailata? Yeah. Like Jordan Mailata, who plays...
Jordan Mailata.
He plays left tackle.
Left tackle for the Eagles.
Well, he was, coming through the Souths and Roosters system, like in Sydney system, and he was coming through and was, a massive wrecking ball, but it was like, you got to lose 20 kilos if you want to play NRL.
He literally would have been too big to play in NRL.
And you lose that kind of talent. At least he's found a spot and he's getting to being able to play.
Yeah, maybe it's a function of the way that the game's changed.
Yeah, the thing I think I miss is I think we've lost the Matty Bones, unfortunately. That's because
Dynamite. Yeah, Preston Campbell. We're just talking about his young fella. Yeah, he was tiny.
Yeah, and Alfie as well as the classic ones.
Jeff Tuvey.
I think the smallest guys now on the pitch are usually your halfbacks because you try to protect them in the defensive line.
Yeah. Yep.
But, you can't really do it as a hooker anymore because you've got to make 40, 50 tackles a game.
I see where you're coming from. I don't know if it's related to the ACLs, but...
the sports science is where I'm going with.
Sure,
the size, it's...
Essentially, there's no one really below 90 kilos and there's no one really above 110 outside of a few, on the first percentile and the 99th percentile.
And you want them 6 foot plus. So
Interesting. Nice little adjunct there. It was a crazy game. Para's got the wood over the Melbourne Storm. They've beaten them twice last year. They got the win against them this year. Can they convert that moving forward? That was our
last year.
Our big chat last year. We kind of thought they were pretenders. We kind of thought, they're looking really good, but can they continue this run of form when it comes to finals? Again, it's only week 3. who knows? But they do have the Mickey over the Melbourne Storm of late, and that's a pretty good team to have the Mickey over. Raiders Titans, boys. I was actually out there for it's a little bit of Saturday night football. You could hear a pin drop in there.
Well, I was going to say, what were your thoughts at halftime?
We were thinking about leaving. I was there. I was designated driver for a bucks party. It was like herding cattle, and some of the cattle were getting very distressed at the score, and
they were dreadful.
And they wanted to go up to the paddock to go graze on some grass. Graze on beers essentially.
Yes.
So there was literally a discussion had as to should we leave at halftime. I'm glad that the Raiders scored that little one before halftime, 22-4, and the Raiders were poor defensively. Their right edge was very leaky in that first half, but not to take away from any of the Titans players. They played really well. They didn't make errors. They attacked down their left edge really well. And then the opposite of what we're used to from the Raiders. We talk about the faders. They're normally the ones that give up the lead. Ricky, you spoke about in the group message, Ricky must have changed his halftime dress because it was a completely different team that came out in the second half. And I've never seen a crowd shift so much. Like, it was dead quiet at halftime.
I guarantee every Raiders fan was thinking, was just like, why am I going to tune in for the second half? So
it was looking like a 40-point drop.
Yeah, you're just like, they're absolutely dreadful. And to their credit, they came out and played a very grindy, possession-heavy football game where they just took the ball away from the Titans. You think in the second half, what did Sexton and Brimson did? Nothing, because they had absolutely no ball, and that really took all the weapons on the Titans team out of the equation, and credit to
why did the Raiders get dished last week against the Cowboys? Because they couldn't errors. They
turned the ball over. 50% completion rate.
Exactly. You can't win games like that. So.
I think they were out efforted in that game as well, to use a word that doesn't exist.
I'll play it. I've got the meaning behind it, so I'll pay it.
Because the Cowboys' line speed was elite in that game. They obviously knew they were in front, and they knew the Raiders was either struggling fatigue-wise, whatever, but they came off the line fast the entire second half. Whether the Raiders took a bit out of that book, they defended really well. They came out of the line. They did throw some big shots to keep the crowd in there. But I don't know, for the Raiders, like, nothing really changed personnel wise.
Something did change.
Like, Tommy Starling came on in the 20, but he came on after 20. So Matt Frawley, he played 60 minutes. So
25. He played 55.
I don't know why Matt Frawley was in that team, honestly. Like,
it was a big difference. It was a stark difference when Starling came on. So that personnel wise, that was the only kind of difference.
Yeah.
Did it all come down to Tom Starling? No, it was obviously a team effort. I thought either way he ran the ball.
The last 20
really
minutes, those two, Papalili and Tommy Starling, they were the shining light. Tommy getting out of dummy half really quick and then killing the really tired Titans forwards, put them in positions to score points, and then Jack's been their best player throughout the month and shown it. Kicked well, chased everything like a monster, and really got them the win. So,
thoughts on Schneider? I thought he was pretty good.
I think he's good. He's got go back to halfbacks. He's like a great size for halfback. He's got that similar sort of build to say Inigo Hines does. He just needs to work in his game, and maybe being the young fella has allowed Jack to get more into his structures. And they scored 2 tries when both of them were on the same side of the field when Snyder comes across and they run a little play. They need to do more of that. I think
for sure.
That's their going to be their bread and butter going forward, and then. I think it also helped Chance, not that Chance getting hurt, but Rapana playing more of a fullback role in attack, where he was just in and around the ball constantly, just being a little seagull, picking up anything he could, really helped. And, he put that kick through to get one of those tries as well, just being around the footy on the left side of the field when he's a right winger. I think that really helped. So I'm not sure if we can get an update on Chance. I think he's all battered up and bruised.
Yeah, see how you go. Always hard.
I still say they got to get Savage in that team somehow, and I would have thought maybe having him as the utility added more than Frawley playing 25 minutes.
Yeah.
To me, I think that's
interesting call there from Ricky, wasn't it? And Yeah, I agree. I think
maybe saving Savage for the 10 rounds at the back of the year, not the start of the year as well. He's still a young fella.
Maybe. I'm not sure what's going on there. But I'll tell you what, Timoko and Semi Valemi look both very good. It's Valamai, isn't it?
Yeah, Valamai.
The correct pronunciation.
Yeah,
the shot that he put on AJ Brimson, that
knocked
was
him out of his
clean and ended the game. Yeah. And the crowd was going mental.
I think getting
the crowd's going mental here, kicking over the non-alcoholic beers.
I think getting Kotrick back on that left side is going to be a scary left side. Nothing to take away from Seb Chris, but he's not a winger. I think he's more a centre. He's doing a job there, and
we spoke about it in the pre-season preview, looking at this side, and it's a good problem for Ricky to have. They've got a really strong backline and deep backline. Who is their best 1 through 5? I don't really know. CNK's got to be in there. Rapana's got to be in there. Kotrick probably has to be in there.
Yeah, I think.
But then we saw how good Tomoko and Valamai can be. And then you've still got Xavier Savage. You've still got Jared Croker. You've still got Harley Smith-Shield, who unfortunately won't be available this year because of his ACL.
Yeah.
But there's 8, I think, first grade backs in there.
I hate to say it, but it could put a line through Croker's career with the amount of young talent.
I'd say so.
I'm not because I know his shoulders. I think his shoulders and back is what's causing him issues at the moment. I'm not even sure if he's been playing reserve grade because that's where he is at the moment. So it's a bit unfortunate for the 30-year-old.
31. Raiders legend. It'd be interesting if his body is shot. If they could just get him up for one game.
I don't mind if he retires. Just sign him on as the bloody kicking coach and get him with Snyder straight away and be like, right, mate, this is how you kick a footy. You don't need a 2-hour long run up to kick it at the goal, and then just coach him. Which is an interesting point because I think the average for goal kicking across the league is at about 66% or something. Usually it hovers in the mid 70s. So the Hazamal, Mazris, etc. of yesteryear. That quality of goal kicking has gone to the wayside.
Funny, we always talk about the goal kicking in the AFL as well, how it's dropped off, and we will get to that in a second with Buddy Franklin.
Well, same thing. They're too busy lifting plates and not kicking goals.
And running in AFL, the game is essentially a survival of the fittest these days. I was just quickly to highlight someone I was really impressed with from the Gold Coast Titans, Beau Firma. He had an absolute game. He played all 80 minutes as an edge back rower. He set up a really good try for the Titans in that first half with it sort of like over the back.
Yeah, just a quick tap.
Kind of pass. He was involved a lot in that left edge. So watch out for him, Beau Firma.
Big Tino was good as well. So
he was, Big Tino was very good. Unlucky to the Titans. They essentially did a Canberra Faders themselves. The current game that we've got an eye on here is Brisbane, North Queensland. North Queensland leading 14-6. Have you seen anything else of note happen?
Just a little bit of back and forth. Close game at half time. I don't know. If I'm the Broncos, I might be starting to get a little bit worried.
In terms of this game?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'd be worried.
It looks like the Cowboys are coming back into it.
Still 36 minutes left.
I will say, they still got Tarpon out there. Billy Walters as a hooker was elite last week. He's got some good size and he's quick out of dummy half. So I wonder...
Currently still sitting on the bench, which is great because I've got him starting in my fantasy team and he has a total of 0 points. So good work from me there.
He'll probably come on maybe in the next 5, give him 30 minutes and see what he does against the tired Cowboys forwards. But his pace around in the second half because he's a lot quicker out of dummy half than Turban is. But
sooner rather than later.
For your chances. You might not make a heap of tackles in that time frame, but he might get you a bunch of meters if you're lucky.
And then the late game is Manly and the Bulldogs, 2 arch enemies from the 1980s. Interesting to see what happens with Manly getting off to such a shit start. They are favourites going into that game.
That was going to be my question. Do you see Manly righting the ship this week against Bulldogs?
I've been impressed with Bulldogs. They only just went down to Broncos last week. They bombed a few tries, had a few rough decisions. They were in front in that game and kind of dicked it up on the Sunday afternoon. I think their signings in Burton and Addo Carr have looked really good.
And your mate Paul Vaughan.
And Paul Vaughan, yeah. And he has looked really good, actually. He's a good footy player.
He is. He has shit barbecues, but he's a decent footy. Anyway. Yeah.
No, I think the barbecue was quite good by all accounts. It was,
that's why all the boys showed up.
Yeah. Oh, is that out in the full?
Yep.
Yeah. Broncos shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah.
Adam Reynolds, unlucky. Yeah. I like Manly in that, but I think it'll be a good, close game of footy.
And we'll give an update because obviously this game will finish whilst we are podcasting.
Most likely, yes.
Just real quick, back on Joe Croker. I think he's still out. It's good
so he hasn't even played any regular weight, so I worry about him. Before we jump in the AFL, do you want to get next round's games up just real quick and have a quick comment? Because depending on when we do potty next week, we might not get to them.
Yeah, true.
We don't need to do a full preview. I just want to have a quick look.
We can maybe do some tips. I started red hot with my tips going 0 from 3. Steadied the ship a little bit yesterday. Round 4, we've got Gold Coast Titans, West Tigers. What a thrilling matchup on a Thursday night.
Great Thursday night game. Titans for me.
Titans for mine there too.
Sharkies Knights would be a good game of footy.
That April Fools. There's some. I hope that's not an April Fool's joke as two matchups because that's 2 red hot games there. The Cronulla Sharks and Newcastle Knights, who have both looked better than most people possibly had.
I'm going to go touch towards the Sharkies for me for this one.
Yeah, I'll go touch towards the Sharkies
maybe too. Depending on where Ponga is.
Yeah, and they're very short at the moment. Too hard to punt on something a week out before teams and injuries and everything comes out. And then a grand final rematch at 8 o'clock on Friday night between Penrith and South. South's very impressive, obviously, this week, but pretty hard to go past Penrith.
Yeah.
And then Moreton Daly Stadium, so that will be the home of the Dolphins, whatever team name they go with next year, Warriors and Broncos. Manly and Canberra. Glen Willow. Can you chase that up? Glen Willow. Mudgee? Yeah, I think it is Mudgee.
Manly a bogey team.
Oh, so it's right there. Yeah, well done, boys. I was trying to get off the top of my head. You guys have been smart and reading.
I was just like, it was Mudgee. Manly a bit of a bogey team for Raiders. So if they don't win this week against the Bulldogs, maybe they get it done against the Raiders and kick off their season.
Yeah, could get back to 2-2. Yep. And then North Queensland take on the Roosters, 7:30 Saturday night. Don't rule out the Cowboys. They've been a little bit more impressive than people were expecting. The Roosters been a little bit lackluster.
They're at $1.30, yeah.
And then into Sunday's games, Melbourne take on the Bulldogs, so the Fox will go up against his old side. And then Parramatta and St George.
Eels for mine.
Yeah, Dragons just got dished by the Sharks, and the Eels just beat Melbourne. So there we go. Should we talk some AFL? Big week in the AFL.
Let's do it.
All right, let's start off with
well, the Dragons got pumped and on the same night the Blues win, so you got one of two.
Well, I got one of 3 because the Socceroos got fish that night as well. We had a trial game for footy, and it was meant to just be a sort of intra-club, getting around the Cooma Cats as well. Shout out to Cooma Cats. Shout out to Cooma. Put them on the international scope for, the thousands of people listening to this podcast right now. I thought we were just going to play 2 halves. 2 halves. I thought we were just going to play one. I thought we were just going to play one half. We ended up kind of playing 3 short-ish quarters. I was keen to get the fuck out of there because it was my birthday and I had both my teams playing. Yeah. And the Socceroos in a do-or-die situation.
And it was day 4 in the cricket. So
day 4 in the cricket, everything was going on. Much like my life. No, that's a bit grim. I was going to say disappointing.
Up and down. Let's go with that.
Let's go with up and down. That's better.
Maybe more down than up. But
let's go. The one team that didn't let me down, we're the team that never let you down, except for the last 15 years.
You got to say that. That's the big stat. First time in 10 years they're 2-0. So we're talking about the Blues taking on the Bulldogs, Western Bulldogs. Who
went close to winning the whole thing last year. So, and who did they beat round 1? Richmond, the dynasty team of the last sort of 5 years. Mate, Mate, book your grand final tickets. Fuck me, Blue Baggers. Let's go. No, in all seriousness.
Did you buy your Dragons grand final tickets last week?
No, did not. And I had been talking a little bit about that. Turns out it's a lot easier to get NRL grand final tickets as well, so you don't have to pull the trigger as early. Anyways, old Sam Cripps. Oh, looking at Sam Walsh and Pat Cripps at the same time. Old Paddy Cripps obviously had a down year last year. He was banged up. Has been absolute fire in these first 2 rounds. And then Sammy Walsh coming back. He had the week 1 off. They didn't really miss him that much against Richmond, but having him back in the side, he's an elite midfielder. Good chance to go high in Brownlow voting this year. Matt Kennedy's been very impressive. He's come along a lot. Voss is off to an absolute cracker. Now, I was mentioning in our group chat with the Rev and occasional Esky contributor / host / AFL correspondent / resident South Australian Esky.
The Steam.
The Steam. Big Carlton fan. In fact, more diehard than myself. As bled blue from a very young age, the opposite colour to his head. Well, for our foreign listeners, redheads often get called bluey down here. Yep, that's our shit sense of humour. Anyways, so I was saying the next 6, I think they play.
They play bottom 8 teams, essentially.
Yeah, but
meant to be.
They're playing Hawthorn, who are looking pretty good. I kind of had penciled that in as a win, but who knows there. They play Port Adelaide, who got dished by Hawthorn. Away at the Gold Coast Suns. I think they play North Melbourne. I think they play Adelaide. Like, there's a good chance, like say they drop 2 of those, there's a good chance it's week 8 and the Blues are 6-2.
All the fingers crossed.
All the fingers crossed. Well, and as we discussed, maybe worst case scenario, 5-3.
Well, that's where you want to be. You want to have won like 5 games.
Yeah.
So if you can pull that off, you'd be very happy as a Blues fan compared to what you've done in previous years.
Well, you'd be happy with fucking winning a few games. Interesting that, we say the Blues are 2-0 for the first time in 10 years. The other way you can structure that is the Blues have won a game in their first 2 games in the first 10 in 10 years. Mm-hmm. Every other year has been an 0-2 start.
Yep.
So it's pretty hard to make finals, and shout out to the Steam, when you're starting at 0-2 every single year. When you're given two games to the opposition. So a lot of hype around Lygon Street and Carlton fans across Australia. Bevo last week went absolutely ham after they lost to Melbourne. They are now 0-2, the Western Bulldogs. Tom Morris, poor fella. Fox Sports backs me. Oh, that aged well. Next day I got the sack.
Bit of fall from grace.
Well, someone had something up their sleeve, didn't they? A little bit of...
Someone's holding on to something.
Yeah,
waiting for the right time to release it.
Yeah, a WhatsApp comment. Jeez, I thought that was meant to be...
don't go through our groupie.
I hate to...
There's nothing wrong with our group.
It's just dick pics, lads.
Nothing wrong with that. It's consensual. I don't know if every single person's
WhatsApp meant to be green, bro.
if every single person's WhatsApp history came to the forefront, I don't think anyone would have a job in Australia.
Yeah.
In Australia,
not at all.
Anyways, one of the strangest exchanges that I've seen in an AFL press conference in quite some time, and was doing the rounds on the social media.
Well, by all accounts, he broke a story that was 100% accurate, and the Bulldogs didn't want that story to get out.
And it's happened last year as well around teams. There's a mole. There's a hands mole man.
Exactly.
Hands mole man in there. EJ Winton Oval has its hands mole man.
Yeah, Bevo needs to be more worried about his moles than the reporters reporting on it.
Yeah, that's probably who's leaking it from the inside. Bevo was pissed off. Did he go a little bit too harsh on Tommy Morris? I don't know.
Yeah, well, a journo reporting a story. Water is wet. Like,
I suppose it's his job.
That's what he's meant to do.
Yeah, it's also and it's kind of some of the idea of us starting a podcast. None of us have degrees in journalism, So I think some of it is gutter journalism, to quote Beveridge. Look, obviously they want to break stories. That's the way they operate. They need to have insider sources and this and that. But a lot of I think Beveridge's anger came out around and he pointed to some of the other journos in the press conference and said, I can't remember the names, there was a few of them, and he's like, if you found this information out, you'd do the right thing, you'd call the club, you'd say, are you happy for us to release it?
Professional courtesy.
Professional courtesy. Thank you, Monks, for someone who, works in a suit and tie most days, and has to have a bit of professional courtesy, I imagine, in your day-to-day 9 to 5. I think that seemed to be the thing that was pissing him off more so than the stories getting leaked. That was my takeaway from it. Took away from a really good game between the grand finalists of last year. Did we like the Wednesday nights kickoff to start the year?
They didn't have to go up against an NRL game, but probably doesn't matter in the AFL sense. But it gives them a clean. It does give them an absolute clean slate. There's nothing else sports-wise going on
a Wednesday night
besides day 3 in Australian cricket. But
it also is Wednesday night. It kind of, I don't know. I was like, holy fuck!
I did feel odd about that Test match going from a Monday through to a Friday. Like it felt a bit icky, then sort of going over a weekend. But also, hey, I got cricket all week, so it's not a biggie. But yeah, Wednesday night for a footy match, it's a bit odd.
I think it's just because we don't really see it. You can't have that going through the regular season either.
No, so
I didn't mind it. Opening nights.
Another night to watch footy.
Yep. It took a bit of pressure off the Blues not having to be out there on opening night and losing to Richmond for the 11th year in a row. Okay, Swans Cats, this will be a big one, boys. Unbelievable scenes, international headlines. Buddy Franklin kicks his 1,000th goal in the fourth quarter with about 6 minutes remaining. After he kicked 999, it was very difficult because we had the cricket going right down to the wire. We had rugby league on. I was like, well...
Flicking back and forth.
Well, yeah, I was like, nothing's coming off this now because I had been sort of furiously channel surfing between the cricket, the league and the AFL. But after he kicked 999 in the third quarter, I was like, okay, we're not coming off from here. It was funny seeing and talking to a few mates that were at the game after 999 happened. Everyone started pouring down.
Everyone was on the fence.
All the aisles were full. There was people sitting on the fence the whole way around, just waiting for the opportunity. There was about 20 security guards there. Obviously, they'd been briefed. They'd been briefed just to let it happen. Maybe have a little chat with some people on the fence. To just try and be respectful of each other as they rushed out there. And he took the mark with 6 minutes to go and had a set shot. A funny outcome would have been if it missed it. If it hit the post, because everyone was running onto the field.
They're already
as soon as it left his, but even before, even as he was running in, there was people running out. So they might have had to.
It's no doubt, it's Buddy. He's kicking them.
Oh, it wasn't. There was doubt about it. It wasn't a gimme by any means.
Not at all.
Anyways, he hit it as clean as he liked, straight through the diddle, and the field got absolutely invaded by about 25 to 30. There was 38,000 in. I reckon a good 80% of those people were on the field. Probably the biggest pitch invasion I've ever seen in my lifetime. I was watching the Tony Lockett one, which actually it was in my lifetime. I had to, kind of revamp the memories on YouTube over the weekend. Wilder scenes on Thursday, on Friday night, I should say, in terms of the amount of people running on. Did you guys see the drone footage from above the ground?
Yeah. They did a late of the coverage for it. I think potentially, and this is just speculation on my part, I think for Plugger, I think it was more organic, whereas this was just like you're allowed on the field, you can go, whereas the others might have been like, oh, am I getting in trouble going on the pitch? So it might have been slightly different in that regard.
Yeah, no, that's a good point that you make because, I don't think it was a planned kind of thing, whereas this, obviously it's been...
Yeah, they said, we're going to take 20-minute break. Once it kicks it, you can come on the field. We'll give you warnings over the speakers to get you off.
The SCG had a strategy in place. They were in.
The one thing that I think they probably should have had was some big boy, nice minder to be right next to Buddy because I think he needed a bit of help there.
Well, what do you do? Do you, as he was lining up the shot, get 6 big boppers out there, get him an offensive line to go protect him because he got absolutely swamped.
If he doesn't get COVID, I don't know how he's not going to kick after that. He had his head rubbed by every bloke child in that bloody stadium.
Thousands of people. He looked like he was loving it for about the first 5 minutes. Yeah.
And then he's just like, this is getting a bit squishy.
Holy fuck! Like I am, and you see the Swans players were kind of around him
initially, and then they kind of
and talking to some boys that were there, they felt like it was like a mosh. Like it felt like a mosh pit. Once you got close enough,
look at they're still not stopping, and they kind of all. I think I'm quite happy and impressed that there was no like serious injuries or trampling.
Well, nothing's come out. Yeah. What about Zach Tui?
Zach
Tui's just walking out. I reckon that guy might have been on his phone. It looked like
he laid him out and knocked his wallet off, and then Tui picks his wallet up and then gives
up his wallet and gave
back to him.
Unbelievable. I hope that guy was on his phone because that would be elite viewing. If you're just seeing him just running in, and good zoom, and the phone goes flying, and then just the white noise of it.
I know. I've seen some of the pictures as well. Some of the Swans boys, the younger boys, got lost in the middle. They had to go out the gate, and then had to go around the stadium to come back in.
You had the names up before. There was
back up.
There was three of them. I think
they got lost.
Yeah,
they took a wrong turn heading back into the sheds.
It was Chad Warner was one of them. The bloke that kicked him the ball, and he was ecstatic. I think he was quoted in verbatim saying, "I fucking kicked it to him." So he'll go down to the guy that hit him up. Yeah. Ollie Florent, they got stuck outside of the ground, and then I think Nick Blakey and a few others got stuck in one of the bays on the other side, and they couldn't get around because it's all the way that the SCG is structured. So a Swans official had to go find them and look after them.
How long did it take them to restart this match?
About 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It took about 40. Yeah, it took about.
I think it took them multiple attempts to try and get people off the pitch.
Did you see at the end as well? There were stragglers out there that,
There was one guy that just didn't want to leave.
And the security guards absolutely cleaned him up. Imagine Secchies, it's against their DNA to let people onto the field. But after 30,000 had rushed it, they wanted to get their shots in, didn't they? They wanted to give a little bit of justice to a few stragglers out there.
How much ground did Buddy cover? Because I think he started down this end of the pitch, and I think he got kind of pushed all the way to the other, and then had to work his way back towards the fence. Yeah. I was worried once he got to the fence, he was kind of getting squished up against the fence.
Yeah.
But then he made it over, and then he was with all the other Swans boys and headed in the sheds, and it was all good by then. But yeah, you could see the after the 5-10 minute mark, the panic kind of sets in a little bit. He's like, "Oh, I'm still loving this, but also I have no fucking idea how am I going to get out of this."
Well, yeah, if you got like several thousand people around you trying to get their piece of the action,
when they interviewed Buddy afterwards, they definitely were trying to get it out of him. It was like, "How did you feel out there?" And Buddy was just, as a professional, just played it off. "Oh, I loved the moment. The moment was great. The moment was excellent." I don't think he was going to say, "Yeah, it was great," and then I was shitting myself for the last 10 minutes because I wasn't sure where I was going to get out of this. Because he was shoulder to shoulder getting pummeled from every direction.
That's one thing I found really interesting as well. Like during the game, because it took so long to get that crowd out of there. Like they were literally interviewing Buddy about his goal before the game had even finished as well. Like there was nothing else they could really do.
Trying to keep the coverage going. I think after about between the 10-15 minute mark, a Sydney Swans staffer gets out there and it's next to Buddy, and then
I saw that. It was theirs, put it on a lead block.
Yeah, but
fullbacks are back, baby.
Probably not the biggest lad in the world, but he
wasn't like
old man dad strength as well.
Big dad strength, big energy.
He pointed Buddy and was like, "The gate's over here. Let's go."
Yeah, that dude in the white shirt and the Swans hat. He was lead blocking for Buddy to get him out of there. Just that drone footage for me, it's bigger than, it transcends sport. It's a human achievement, isn't it? And a lot of speculation around will it ever happen again? Obviously, the game has changed dramatically. Back in the day, it used to be a one-on-one game. The players weren't as fit, so. You look at the full forwards back in the day, like Plugger, his weight would fluctuate a lot. Often, playing with a little chunk on him, and no disrespect, to the greatest full forward of all time, but you didn't have to be as fit. You pretty much stayed in the square.
Well, exactly. His game was contained to a certain end of the field.
Exactly. So whereas you look at sort of, say, the pitch maps that they've got these days in the ground that a player like Buddy Franklin covers, he comes back even into the defensive half sometimes, and then exactly. So it's a completely different game. Zone defenses didn't exist in the 80s and 90s, so that has changed. Look, it's a pretty open-ended question. Does it ever happen again? Does in 20 years' time, do we see another shift to a different style of game that is more reminiscent of the game of yesteryear.
You still do see guys, they kick 4 or 5 goals in a game. It's becomes a consistency. You got to do that, and then consistency and longevity. You got to be consistent with it and do it for a very long time to get to that point. So
even just looking at the Coleman numbers, you know,
what was average?
I'll bring up the average. I'll just bring up the Coleman medal numbers. It wasn't uncommon for guys to kick 100 goals in a season back in the day. Whereas you know, the COVID years got a big
asterisk.
You followed me down the wrong road there.
I followed you.
That was my mistake. Yeah, the COVID year has a big asterisk on it, where Tom Hawkins won the Coleman with about 40 goals. But let's have a look at these numbers. So even last year, Harry Mackay, 58 goals. Then going back through, Jeremy Cameron, 67, Jack Riewoldt, 65, Buddy Franklin, 69, Josh Kennedy, 80. So pushing it, but we haven't seen anyone kick 100 since that man Lance Franklin did it in 2008 when he kicked 102.
Yeah, but
now let's go back.
That period.
Now look here. Look here in the 80s and 90s. Coleman medal winner, 83, 84, 86, 87, 88. Like all the end of the 80s.
Early 90s.
The Coleman medal winner, who was mostly Dunstall, Brian Taylor, or Tony Lockett, would kick over 100 goals. Interesting, John Longmire, Buddy's coach from the other night, Coleman medal winner in 1990, and then a stretch from 91 to 96, where guys like Tony Lockett and Gary Ablett Sr. kicked over 100, well over 100, like we're talking 139, 124, 118 goals in a year. Pretty handy company there, Lockett, Ablett Sr., Dunstall.
Humour me, go before that.
Before that, so do you want to keep going? Yeah, so there was a stretch in the 70s. Peter Hudson, he won, and Doug Wade, who's in that 1,000 club. Peter Hudson, who I think has he's got the most goals per game out of any player ever. I think he had a shorter career, so never reached 1,000. But yeah, look at that. 68, 70, 71. He kicked 125, 146, 140 goals. Imagine someone kicking 146 goals.
Yeah, but there's
I've had 146 kicks in my AFL career.
There's a little bit of dip. So my point is, there's a little bit of dip in there in the 70s and the big period you just said in the 60s, but then there's a dip before that.
Yeah, look at this dip here between 53 and 67, that's a 14-year period. No one kicked 100 goals. So there must be, you know, ebbs and flows in the way that the game is
That was
played.
the point I'm trying to allude to.
Exactly. And then we go back to the great Gordon Coventry, who kicked 100 goals multiple times, who was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-time Coleman winner. It wouldn't have actually been the Coleman medal in those days. He would have just been the VFL top goal scorer, and who famously is second on the list. And when his record got broken by Plugger kicking 1,300 because he finished on 12.99, famously led to the pitch invasion that we were just talking about before with Plugger. He must have just been built different back in the 20s.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be like the sport doesn't need to be changed. Like it just could be some bloke that just comes out and is absolutely elite and, you know, kicks 100 goals for 20 years. Like he's
kicked 2,000, you reckon? Quick math.
Yeah, again, quick math. But it's I don't want to say it's out of the realm of possibility because it is definitely doable if you are consistent longevity. Probably no one's playing 20 years in the AFL, unfortunately, but hey, you never know.
I don't think it's a generational talent kind of thing that has, if it was to happen again, I think the game...
To kick 2,000, I think you needed probably generational talent and
We're talking about the
sport. But for 1,000, yes.
Yeah, I don't think 2,000's ever happening unless, you know, genetic engineering comes in 100 years' time and the full forwards are 300 centimetres and 180 kilos and 2% body fat look like characters that you made on Madden back in the day.
The average score in AFL games is 150 odd.
Yeah, or more. Yeah.
Have to be more, yeah.
Where were we? 1,000 goals. 1,000 goals. Does it happen again? The way the game is currently played, no. If it ebbs and flows into a different kind of, style in 20 years, who knows? But, it's very hard to see it happening ever again. Monks, have you got the current players there and how far off they are? Jack Riewoldt there?
Yeah. So Jack Riewoldt's the next best after Buddy as current players. He is only sitting on... Only 716.
A pathetic 716 goals. So Riewoldt obviously going towards the end of his career. I'll get you an age on Jack Riewoldt. Josh Kennedy's up there, isn't he?
Yep. So he's behind him at 6'88", and then we've got Tom Hawkins at 6'69".
Nice.
So Hawkins would be the youngest of those three, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so. So Riewoldt is 33. I think they're all kind of similar, actually. Oh, Jesus Christ, there's a few Tom Hawkins. Here we go. No, Tom Hawkins is 33, and Josh Kennedy, well, there's going to be a few of these bastards as well, isn't there? There's 2 in the AFL. Oh, well, that's actually less than you would have thought. Kennedy's 34. So they're all similar kind of age. They're maybe got 3 or 4 years left in them. Are any of those guys going to get to 1,000? No, you wouldn't think so.
They'd have to, they have to kick 100 from this point out.
Yeah, or just be a freakish kind of Dustin Fletcher-esque, Tom Brady-esque athlete that plays to 40. Would you see that happening in the AFL? The way that it's played these days, how fit you have to be, highly unlikely.
Yeah, I don't think a rig like Tommy Hawkins is going to stay around deep into his 40s.
It's a big fucking rig, isn't it? And that's interesting as well, sort of the different, like Buddy's a lean kind of for obviously he plays sort of a centre half.
I reckon
a lot.
He looks trimmer to me now than he did
a few years ago. Yeah. You ever seen the pics of it? Mark, bring up a pic of Buddy Franklin as an 18, 19-year-old. Wiry. And it's interesting with the Jamara Ugle-Hagen comparison. I think, oh, geez, he looks too skinny to be an elite full forward. And then you think, oh, hang on, the bloke's 19. Like, think of how big you were when you were 19 yourself, Pepsi. And not that you're an Adonis or oil painting by any means these days.
Yeah, you look at all the pro professionals, like, go look at LeBron. LeBron was the same thing coming out of college. Giannis
is the prime example, isn't he? Jeez, Giannis looked like he needed a feed before he needed to go to fucking hospital.
They put that professional, they get into the professional team with the professional sports science, and then they become into that professional body. So, go from boy sport to men's sport.
Indeed. So. In terms of the international news, we spoke about Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee, who apparently during the lockdown last year got into a little bit of AFL football. Yeah. I don't know how much of that is true because he was saying, "Oh, buddy, fucking Franklin," he was so hyped for the guy and his 1,000th goal. But then he also did go on to describe the game as I think you get 3 points for one going through this big sticks and 1 point if they go through the others. And I think he had some kind of free kick there or something. So not quite understanding it, but
he just loves it because it's like punting, but
exactly. It's a bunch. Yeah. It's 18 or 22.
He had Mason Cox on last year during the lockdown.
Oh, did he?
So,
I think he got around Mason Cox a little bit last year.
Yeah, that's cool. Good on you, Pat
Unfortunate
McAfee.
for Pat McAfee, but anyway.
Poor Mason. Poor Mason 6'10" Cox. That's his Insta handle. 6'10" Cox. Sorry, that's his Insta handle. Mason 6'10" Cox.
You love the goggles or you hate the goggles?
Not a fan of the goggles. I'm going to be completely honest. Look, he's a professional footballer. I think if I wore those goggles next week in playing second grade here in Canberra, I would get teased.
Is that a good enough segue to go into the pies?
Goggles to pies? Yeah, sure. That is a good segue. The pies, hot pies, 2-0. Not many people had the Collingwood Magpies in their top 8 for this year. Again, it's round 2. It's early days.
Beat the Crows.
Yeah, exactly. Beat the Crows, meh. They look good. Jordan De Goey has, obviously not let the off-season, hoopla affect him too much. He was very good. Brodie Grundy, going to boat Brodie Grundy. He was very good. This game, quite similar to the Hawks power game, which we'll talk about in a minute, where all the major ball winners were from the Crows and then just couldn't capitalise on their inside 50s. Josh Rochelle, the young bloke who kicked 5 on his debut, I believe, last week. Their number 1 draft pick. He looks like a really, really good player. He's only going to get better and better and better. I don't know if you guys saw him in his pre-game warm-up. He went very close to choosing soccer over AFL. Melbourne City were looking at him. He had the round ball going in his warm-up. And I'm not just talking just regular keepy-uppies. I'm talking round the worlds and behind the back and, kind of like elite kind of soccer player talent. With the round ball. Unlucky for the Crows after their 1 point heartbreaking loss to Freo. You guys saw that. Who was the bloke that got the touch on? Can you look that up? The hero from last year, from last week.
Got the touch.
He got the touch and
stopped the goal.
And he didn't rush it behind, because if he rushed it behind, it would have been a draw.
Yep.
He literally had to play goalkeeper, slap it back in, and then Freo had to clear it. His name's bloody escaping me at the moment. But anyways, luckily we're talking about Collingwood, Adelaide. Lions, Bombers. Your Lions, Sean, they look pretty good. Bombers are much better showing after getting absolutely dismantled.
Started well in this game, and then I think it turned into the Lockie Neal show.
41 and 2 goals.
Yeah, 12 clearances as well to go with that. Like an elite showing from the Brownlow medalist. So, yeah, well, I think Bombers sweating on a couple injuries as well. Hopefully,
Merritt ankle.
Yeah, I think Zach Merritt being the big one. But they look good. They've got a good squad. They can definitely compete with these teams that we thought would be in the top 4. But Lions definitely need to start off, keep the run going and start off hot, because they very much their windows. Now they need to win a premiership if they're ever going to do it.
Yeah, we've spoken at length about that window. I'm less convinced that their window has to be now. I think they've got some good young talent coming through.
I think it depends on Lockie Neal. If Lockie Neal wants to go back west after the year, which is the chat.
Yeah, it was a lot of the chat in the off-season, wasn't it?
Yeah, and his deal, I think, is up at the end of the year. So that, by all accounts, could be his last ride for the Lions, but we'll have to wait and see. What happens there?
6 undefeated sides currently at 2-0.
It's interesting.
The Lions being one of them.
I think Penrith are the only undefeated NRL team after 3 weeks.
I can double check that for you. I think that, off the top of my head, that makes sense, given Melbourne losing last night.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. And Brisbane could have gone undefeated, except they getting absolutely dicked by the Cowboys. So the Cowboys go to 2-1, which is interesting. I don't think many people saw that coming. Who else we got? Hawks Power. Yeah, so this one was kind of like the Magpies Crows game in that the major ball winners were all from the Power, Boak, Wines, etc. Getting all the clearances, getting all the inside 50s, couldn't convert into goals, and then Hawthorn just rebounded really, really well. Mitch Lewis had 5, 3 each for Bruce and Gunston. A massive upset. If you told me before this game that Hawthorn were going to win,
60.
that was going to be my point. I wouldn't have laughed at you if you said you tipped Hawthorn. Maybe
got some young talent.
Jag and upset. If you told me that Hawthorn were going to go to Adelaide Oval, normally an impenetrable fortress for the Port Adelaide Power, and fucking beat them by 60 points, I probably would have laughed at you. I can't imagine what that was paying. I don't know if anyone had Hawks 40 plus. They'd be laughing all the way to the bank today. Port, I don't know if it's a bit of Dad's Army kind of stuff. Geelong.
That was the chat.
Yeah, maybe they just need to work on that forward entry and converting all those touches into goals. I'll actually bring up
the
numbers.
Their issue's not going to be the start of the season. They want to... they want to be playing at the end of the year. So you try and work on some things at the start of the year is probably okay.
So how about this? Travis Boak, 39. Carl Amon, 38. Ollie Wines, 36. So 3 guys over 35 and just couldn't convert it into points. So, worrying signs there for Port Adelaide. Melbourne did a job against the Gold Coast Suns. A vastly improved Gold Coast Suns got the win over the West Coast Eagles over in the West last week. And tell you who is an early shout for Brownlow medalist. Obviously, it's round 2, but I think this bloke has 6 votes guaranteed. Christian Petrarca. He went off in last night's game as he did on opening night. He had 38 and 2 goals against the Dogs on opening night. 40 last night put him down for 6 Brownlow votes. The Demons looking like a team to beat again. The Suns improved. They're 1-1. Matt Rao got absolutely cleaned up by Willie Rowley last week.
Is he healthy is the question.
He is. He does. I was worried after that knock. It looked like it just took the wind out of him. He played yesterday. Yeah, I think he's okay. Pretty bad contact there from Willie Rioli. I was very surprised at the judiciary that he copped a week where he got off copping the week, where Mitch Robinson copped a week for his one, which to me, I don't know, didn't look nearly as bad.
Robinson's got priors, so maybe that's the reason.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Willie Rioli, there was no chance he was ever touching that ball. No. And then, because he left his feet.
Yeah, he's flying through the air and
left
takes
his feet. But then he turned. He knew that he couldn't get the ball, so he turned his hips and got Riau smacked in the head.
Yep.
Escaped, copping a suspension, a bit of a head scratcher there. Kangaroos and Eagles, that should be over. The Eagles got absolutely decimated by COVID.
Spicy flu. They are losing.
And They did lose. No, they've lost, 74 to 59. But that's a pretty good showing, considering I think like 12 guys out from COVID protocols, which pretty hard to win when you've got guys coming in. They would have had a lot of debutants. They would have had a bunch of guys, that have just come up from the waffle. Looking at that side, geez. Not too many familiar names on there at all. Petreski Seaton obviously coming across from Carlton. Naish coming. I just said coming twice. Naish coming across from Richmond, and then just a lot of waffle guys that had to step up. So good on them to go over to Melbourne and put in a respectable performance after getting decimated by COVID.
You had the score there a second ago. The Tigers and Giants are playing as well.
So rematch.
Interesting news during the week was Dusty taking some time off. So
any news around that?
Can
you chase that up?
It was personal.
Yeah, just personal leave. Whether it's mental health related or whether his
old man died in the off season.
Correct.
Yes,
correct.
Okay,
yes. And he was also working his way back from injury. You go work his way back into that playing mindset after having a year off. And for a bloke that's done absolutely everything in footy, there's not really much left for him. So probably just needs to get his mind right and get back into wanting to play football. Maybe doesn't. There's also that possibility. Dusty will do an Ash Barty and go off into the
step
sunset.
away at the top of it. Yeah. So his old man passed away 27th of December. I think so. Ago. Yeah, only 3 months ago. It's pretty fresh. Where we remember talking about Mitch Stark and how we thought his form was a little bit all over the place, and then it turned out his old boy had cancer and passed from it. There's things that are bigger than sport, isn't there?
100%.
So wishing him all the best and in grieving the loss of his father.
What was the score in that game? I think the Tigers were winning.
Yeah, I'll bring that up for you.
I saw 109, I think, to something.
103 to 67. They're home. It's nearly the end of the fourth quarter, so Richmond will bounce back off their loss to the mighty 2022 Premiers Carlton. Sorry, Michael, for saying that. Where are we at? Noah Bolter and Tom Lynch, 3 goals apiece. Shai Bolton continues to improve. Major ball getters. Canberra's Tom Green, 31. Tim Torino, 27. And Jaden Short, 32.
Is Hogan playing for them, Jesse?
I don't think he was named. Let me have a look.
It's always going to be a bit of an issue for GWS.
Yes, was named. Didn't do much by all accounts here. We've got the league up there. We could have this game on live because
both games are probably over.
Both games are over. This game's been well over for quite some time. The Cowboys absolutely dishing Brisbane.
Let's finish the AFL and we'll talk about that for 2 seconds. Last game, the Dockers are taking on the Saints. That starts in about 30 minutes.
Yeah, I like the Sunday night games. I really enjoy sitting down on a Sunday night, winding down and watching a little bit of footy.
They get some clear air as well. Been no NRL games on at that time, so it's the only kind of sport you want to will have on, and it's good going into
anything not make sense out of that sentence there, Sean?
No.
What did we just talk about, Manly and Canterbury?
Fuck Manly. generally.
It's not clear air. But both leagues start tending to go for that Sunday night time slot. Anyways, it'll be nice to sort of flip between the two.
Can we run through next week's games quickly?
Yes, we can. Any ideas? Dockers Saints. Saints a little bit disappointing last week. The Dockers very lucky to come away with that 1 point win against the Crows. Could go either way.
Yes,
it being
two close teams.
Yeah, it being in Perth, I'll lean towards Freo. Wouldn't be surprised if the Saints can get the job done.
Here's round 3. What do we got next week?
Round 3, Western Bulldogs, Sydney Swans. We've got an old 2016 GF rematch there. Into
sneaky for me, Sydney Swans.
2 Friday night games. Co-current. Don't like that. Melbourne Demons and Essendon at 7:20. And then a showdown. Adelaide and Port Adelaide at 8:20. Strange. AFL tends to... Well, they never really overlap on a Friday night. Into just the 3 games on... I don't know if these times are right, to be honest. GWS taking on Gold Coast, Collingwood, Geelong, Brisbane and North. Again, Collingwood and Brisbane games.
GWS, Geelong and Brisbane.
Are we doing tips, are we?
No. I'm just throwing out some ideas.
Carlton take on Hawthorn. This is an interesting game. Both have been pretty ordinary last few years. Obviously, Hawthorn very good before that. Carlton not so much.
I hate to say
both 2-0.
I hate to say it. I think the Blues have got a better roster, so I'd back them.
See what happens.
Hawthorn. I hate to say.
Because I've given him credit. So.
Hawthorn very, very impressive against Power last night. St Kilda play Richmond and a derby.
A derby, yes.
Derby. Is it a derby or is it a derby? I can't remember.
Depends on where.
No. Mac has said there's a Western Australian pronunciation.
Yeah,
it's a derby, I think. It's a derby. It's definitely a derby.
Derby?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We're like Geordie Yokels over here on the East Coast.
I like a Richmond.
Having our borders.
I like a Richmond and a Dockers from those ones.
Like rednecks for the last 12 months.
Definitely
hasn't been 12 months. Anyways.
So let's talk about this game real quick. Let's finish it off.
Oh, Dad calling.
Hello, Dad.
Yeah, on loudspeaker too. Hey. If we were drinking beers, that would have been a skull, monkey.
Billy Walters did get on for you, Peps. I'm not sure.
Yeah, did he do anything? I'll get a live fantasy check.
Had a run there for you. But Stags has been terrible for Brisbane. He's had a really slow start to the year, and Coriolis puts that.
Oh, I've got a lead. Peps Mongrel's leading the Jack the Felonies at the moment.
That's good.
In fantasy, obviously, we'll go down to the Bulldogs Manly game. I am 0-2.
14 for Billy Walters.
I am 0-2. I had the skipper on Tom Trbojevic both opening rounds, and he was a little bit lackluster.
Yeah, that point where I said I think Brisbane are looking like they're starting to struggle. Cowboys scored 24 unanswered points from there.
Jeez. No one saw. I'm pretty sure I tipped the Broncos at home. The Cowboys are obviously a lot better than what we've given them credit for. I think Taumalolo was having himself a bit of a game from what I saw at halftime.
They've killed him down his right side again. So, with Adam Reynolds back in the squad, his second game there, maybe they're trying to work out that defensive structures, but anyway, Brisbane have been absolutely carded in this one.
Yeah, retract last statement. Taumalolo been a little bit quiet in the second half. Hope he hasn't gone down. Val Holmes looks like he's had himself a good game. A lot of run meters. Seven goals. They've obviously scored a lot.
He's playing in the centres now.
Yeah, centres.
Which I think's...
Yeah, with the Hammer. The Hammer's playing one.
Hammy
C. Tabuai Fido.
It's been good so far.
And Jeremiah Nanai, who is a big fantasy staple this year, a young edge rower. He's had himself a game as well.
Well, Cowboys going to win this one, that's for sure.
Yeah, you don't think that Brisbane can score 28 points in the next 35 seconds?
No, I'd say the Cowboys are probably going to get 40 in that time frame.
They're on the attack?
No, they turned it over anyway.
38-12 final score there from Suncorp Stadium. That wraps up the week in AFL and NRL and Australian footy. How good footy's back. 2 weeks off. Obviously a lot to cover there. So thank you to anyone that has bared with us through that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Basketball.
Yeah, I'm going to take a quick payback.
No worries. We are approaching playoffs. The big story in the last 2 weeks, LeBron, obviously... Obviously, we're not going to have a Jordan versus LeBron GOAT conversation in the back end of this podcast. But LeBron just ticking another box, to strengthen the argument for the people that argue for LeBron. It was in Lakers' loss against the Suns. We'll talk about the Lakers, pretty shitty run of form in a second. So he becomes the first player in NBA history to get 10,000 points, 10,000 boards, 10,000 dimes. Got it in the Suns game. If you don't mind just bringing up the overall points, because he also went past Karl Malone to take second in overall points. He's still a long way off Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The way that he's playing as a 37-year-old, we saw that posterizing dunk during the week. Wouldn't be surprised if he does go to number one. Just wouldn't mind, just getting the exact numbers, because he still is a long way, as in kind of 2 seasons behind. But compared to Karl Malone, he did it in 100 less games, more than 100 games less than Karl Malone. Yeah, have you got the exact numbers there?
Yeah, so LeBron is currently sitting on 36,983.
Let's call that 37th. He's about to go 37,000.
Yep.
And Kareem there with 38,837. So close to 30. So he's still about 2,000 points off catching Kareem's.
Yeah.
But look at the games.
He's also got 200 games on Kareem.
Yeah, 200 games less.
Less
than Kareem. And he, 130 less games than Karl Malone.
Yeah.
If anyone's going to do it, be LeBron. Obviously, I don't know how he moves like he does at 37. Obviously, we talk about sports science and how much money goes into maintaining these guys. LeBron has, personal physio, personal diet, nutritionists that cook all his meals. There's rumours that he spends millions of dollars every year just on looking after his body.
Did you mention what he did to Kevin Love during the week?
Yeah. I didn't actually name Kevin Love. That was the man that he did posterize. His ex-teammate. He did Kevin Love, a guy that he won a ring with at Cleveland. He didn't care who he was against. Absolutely posterized a bloke that is taller and younger than him. We spoke last week or last episode about Jars one on Jakob Poeltl. Have you guys seen the Poeltl word game? I would think we mentioned it last time. Really interesting. Some of them are real gimmies, and then some of them are real bench players and quite tough to get. Check that out if you haven't already. Poeltl.
That's real hard, that game.
Yeah.
I find it hard.
What else we got? Lakers rubbish form continues. They did actually go 2-2 since the last pod, I think, but they are 10-25 since January 8. We don't want to have to flog a dead horse because we have spoken about it at length.
They're still in 9? Are they still in the play?
They're still in 9, but the Pelicans and Spurs are absolutely nipping at their heels. I'll bring up those standings.
How are the Pelicans doing so well? Didn't they just shut Zion down for the year?
Well, he's lost a bunch of weight, and he made
because they shut him down for a year, and then the video came out of him doing that big dunk, through the legs dunk.
That was this week.
This week.
He's lost heaps. Let's go Zion Williamson return date.
Yeah, I'm sure they said he's not going to play this year.
Let's have a look. When could he return? There's a bunch of speculation. He's cleared from doctors as of March 5.
Yeah, so he's back training with the team.
If they make the play in, which they're currently sitting in 10th, and it's one game, surely you got to get Zion in.
Yeah,
surely.
Your season's on the line.
Yeah, exactly.
How many games are left in the season?
About 10-ish. Depends on each. Yeah, depends on which team.
A couple of weeks.
Yeah, most teams between 8 and 10 remaining. So the Lakers are in legitimate chance of missing the play-in. Lakers are 31-42. The Pelicans are half a game behind them, and then the Spurs 1.5 behind them. But then it drops off. So I think you can scratch out now the Blazers and the Kings. It's Spurs and Pelicans trying to usurp that 9th spot from the Lakers.
I just want to mention, because I saw it there, do you see anyone catching the Suns?
Well, no. I don't. No.
I've got. I don't want to say that they're the shoe-in, but I've got them heavy favourites to win the comp this year.
Oh, the whole thing.
Yeah,
you're talking about the whole thing.
Yeah, to win the finals.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the West. I was like, I think it's done.
It's impossible.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's a shoe-in. I don't think final, well, even playoff basketball is anything.
You finally picked up on it. I did that on purpose. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah,
look at the quality.
When they get to playoffs, it's nil all. We're starting from scratch.
Exactly.
You've made it to the dance. But yeah, the way they're playing basketball and the way the book is playing at the moment, they went really close last year, and I think they can definitely do it.
In the East, completely different story. The absolute logjam at the top between the Heat, 76ers, Bucks, Celtics. Any of those teams could take out the East. Bulls and Cavs have dropped off a touch. But unlike the West, the bottom end is kind of, I think we've got the top 10 there. The Knicks are 5 games behind the Hawks, so it would take an absolute disaster from the Hawks and an absolute worldly run from the Knicks to jump them.
Yeah, the pace had a bit of a falling off. But I think it's interesting. I think we've said all year that the Lakers are struggling. You know, are they going to make it? And then when we talk about the Warriors, we're like, oh, the Warriors, they'll come good. They'll make it. They'll be all good. And now they're sitting there in, 12th? And what'd you say, 5 games back or they're 6 games back? Sorry. No, I've read that completely wrong.
Who are you talking about?
Switch, go back to East. How did I read that wrong? Oh, I'm looking at it.
How did you read that wrong? Looking at Wizards?
Yeah. No, I literally saw that with a Warriors logo and I said Warriors. Now that you switched that back, I was like, what the fuck is happening? That's just blown my mind.
You need your glasses?
Anyway. No, I could see it. Like, 100%, I'm telling you, it 100% was a Warriors logo. Warriors.
He was lying to us at the start.
He lied to us through song. I hate it when he do that. Yeah. No, let's speak about the Warriors. Steph got tangled up with Marcus Smart. Initially, people was like the initial reports were
absolutely blown my mind.
That he's.
I'm going to be quiet now.
I think it'll be appreciated. I thought initially, no, that's clickbait. No way is he out for the rest of the season. There's only 10 games left. They're 3 games ahead of the Jazz and 3 games behind the Grizzlies, so highly unlikely that they finish outside of 3rd, not 12th.
I can see it correct now. I was like, what the fuck?
That was just the old input, output. There was nothing there. Nothing thought that, that's a pretty big fall from grace.
It was. I was looking at it as... I 100%
that's
was looking
a huge fall.
It was in my mind. It was a Warriors logo and it said Warriors, and that's why I did like 3 looks at it, and that's where my brain obviously processed it in a completely different way than it actually was.
I don't know what goes in there sometimes. Anyways, so Steph may not play the rest of the regular season. I think it's looking a bit more like that. It's all been reported as a foot injury. I haven't actually really heard too much structurally about what's going on there. He is out of the moon boot, which is always a good progression. But just looking at the way that the top of that West is structured, pretty hard to see them finishing 2nd or 4th. So, yeah, I don't know if they try to get him back beforehand or if they just rest him for week 1 of the playoffs.
Rest.
You're going with rest? Yeah. You don't want to lose your biggest weapon.
Yeah, so they don't want to be in the same spot they were in yesteryears, like trying to get him right to play big games. So, rest.
Can you find anything there? It's just being reported as a foot injury.
Yeah. Steve Kerr came out saying that he's still sort of in rehab. Not
sprain,
yet on the court.
High ankle sprain.
No details.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything anatomical.
No, they'd probably want to keep that under wrap.
Which is weird because most sports, like, when we follow the, league and AFL down here, even in the NFL, you generally get a diagnosis. But, who knows? A few big games in the last 2 weeks. KAT put 60 on the Spurs. Did you guys know that he hit 2 3-pointers in his whole college career? So it's a part of his game that he has developed even in the last 12 months. You remember when a few weeks ago we were talking about, the 3-point contest. What? KAT's in it. Then he goes out and wins it.
Yeah.
He's shooting the ball exceptionally well for a big man. Could he turn into like a Nowitzki type, a dual threat?
Oh, well, you know, the talking heads during the week have been saying he's the best big, tall, shooter that's ever been. And everyone's like, wait a minute. Hold on a second.
Dirk only been gone 4 or 5 years.
Exactly.
You're going to start shitting on him like that. What I'm saying is, could he develop into a Nowitzki-like player? Yeah, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves.
I'd say yes.
Ask, is he the best big shooter ever? I think that's an absolute stretch.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. So...
Kyrie, he also put a 60 burger on the Magic 40 in the first half.
Can play at home now, I believe, as well.
Is that confirmed?
Yes, so they've changed the New York legislation. It's not.
What do you have to legislation?
Yeah, it's not though.
Protocol
sanction. I don't know. Whatever. It was interesting because he could be at the Madison Square Garden and he was attending.
Yeah, but he couldn't play.
He couldn't play, but then he went into the locker room after one of their games and then he got in trouble. I think he got fined. But then I'm pretty sure they've changed it in the last week that it's no longer a mandatory requirement and he can play home games.
Again, I think I've said it before on this podcast, quantum physics, rocket science, neurosurgery, who comes up with these COVID rules, put them all in the same box. That's my level of understanding of it, Yeah, you can go hang out with the people. And
what's a specialist in viruses?
Virologist?
Yeah. What about them?
Yeah, well, they don't make policy. That's the thing. If the virologists were making policy, maybe we'd see some more, I don't know. Let's not go down the rabbit hole.
I was trying to set you up for, a Simpsons mad scientist little gimmick there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to lose a job that I don't have yet. So let's end that conversation right there.
So it looks like New York has lifted COVID mandates for performers and professional athletes.
So Kyrie's good to go, baby.
Kyrie's free.
That's big. Like that's massive for the Nets going forward.
They need it.
Where are they in the East? They are 8th. They're 3 games behind the Raptors and Cavs. So there is a chance that they could avoid play-in. So if
to play well from here, though.
Have to. But at least there's 2 teams that they're chasing, not one. So they've got they're relying on the Cavs and Raptors to drop a few games.
I haven't seen it. Has our boy played many minutes? Being Benny Simmons.
Oh, also a good question. Has he played at all?
Does Benny Simmons play?
Yeah, because I know he was there for the 76ers game, but I think he just was sitting on the bench.
He didn't play. He didn't play against the 76ers. I haven't heard anything. I don't think there's changed.
I know he's been in and around. I just don't think he's actually had any minutes.
I don't think he's played at all. Whilst you chase that up, Saudia fucking Bay, remember the name, put 50 on the Magic. He's been a shining light for a very lackluster Detroit Pistons this year. Ben Simmons isn't back yet. I'm sure we would have heard about it.
Yeah. I thought so.
Good listening, that is. Okay.
Where's the tumbleweed?
Yeah, we need a tumbleweed. What noise does it make? Who knows? Let's keep moving because we've got a really big final round that we need to cover. Yep. Just quickly, international soccer. Socceroos, we did mention about them losing earlier in the podcast. Japan, it was back and forth before conceding 2 late goals to Japan. The Japan hoodoo continues. I don't think we've beaten them for 10 years. So essentially, we're going to finish 3rd. In Group B in Asia. We will get 3rd from Group A. So Iran, South Korea, Japan, Saudi Arabia have punched their tickets to Qatar, and we will get Iraq or the United Arab Emirates in a playoff, depending on the results of Tuesday's games. What did we establish before? The Emirates are playing South Korea. So a big chance for Iraq to jump them. They play Syria. So we've got to go through them. And then we've got to go through 5th in South America, which, Monks, if you wouldn't mind chasing up. I think it's currently Peru. And I think they've still got games to play. It could be Colombia. It could be Chile.
All I want to know is where's Uruguay?
Uruguay have made it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
they're the whole enemy.
There's one game left there because they play 18. So it's currently Peru 21 points, Uruguay 25. So they're through. So the top 4 is sorted in South America: Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador, Uruguay, and then we could get Peru, Colombia, or Chile. Can you look at these last games?
They're all elite. I don't like our chances.
I don't like it's going to be really, really, really hard, especially the away fixture. No one like European teams when they go to South America tend to struggle a fair bit.
So I'm not sure if it'll be Colombia because they've got no games left to play.
Can you scroll down? See, if my maths is any good, there should be 18 match days. So just scroll down and see if you can. Is there another match day left? Because 10 teams. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So Colombia play Venezuela, so that'd be a good chance of winning that. Peru play Paraguay, that'd be a good chance of winning that. Chile play Uruguay at home, so that's a tough one. It literally could be any three of those countries. Who would you prefer to get?
None of them. Yeah. Can we get one of them after their starting squad's got COVID, and then the backups got COVID, and then we'll get that third squad? Yeah. Then I think we got a chance.
Yeah, it's very dire for Australia, but at least we're still there. Unlike Italy, yeah.
For the resident Italian.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to. I might have to pick another team to go for, and it's not going to be fucking England. That's for sure.
It's coming home.
It's not coming home. I don't know if
France.
Nah. Maybe Belgium.
I like Netherlands.
I like Belgium. Yeah. Anyways, so Italy have missed 2 World Cups in a row. The last time they played a World Cup knockout game was 2006 when they won the thing. That was the headbutt, the Zidane headbutt game on Matteo Materazzi. That's how far we have to go back to the last time that Italy played a World Cup playoff game. Won the Euros in between. So go figure that fucking out. That
ranked 10 in the world, I believe.
Ranked 10th in the world. They finished second in their group behind Switzerland. The way that it works over in Europe is all the number 1 teams go through automatically, them being Serbia, Spain, Switzerland, France, Belgium, Denmark, Netherlands, England, Germany. They're all through. And then it goes down to like a knockout pathway. So they went down to North Macedonia. The Greeks made them change their name, poor fellas, from just Macedonia to North Macedonia a few years ago. Interesting here as well, a lot of Italian and Macedonian expats would have been a pretty fiery night over in Queanbeyan, I reckon.
Yeah, true.
a lot of expats here, just in Australia in general. A lot of Italians and Macedonians. So Italy gone, and in that path there, Portugal beat Turkey. So say goodbye to Turkey. So Macedonia, North Macedonia. My apologies to our Greek listeners. Have to go through Portugal. Imagine if they knocked out Italy and Portugal out of the World Cup. Would be absolute fucking scenes. Poland got a free ride after Russia got booted by FIFA.
A country that will not be named.
FIFA playing the moral high ground. We're having the World Cup in Qatar. No corruption here. Bye bye, Russia.
We'll take your money, but
anyways, I suppose corruption and invading other countries, possibly on 2 different levels.
At least Italy's got the next World Cup to look forward to. They should play in it because they're increasing the number of teams from 48.
48. 2026 is going to be all of North America. It's going to be USA, Mexico, Canada.
Yep.
It'll be fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun. I don't know how 48 team World Cups. That's like a quarter of the nations.
Well, there's already chat. They want to make it like 64. They want
to make cash money.
Exactly. That's why it's now in 3 fucking countries to host it.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know. I guess it's
not like America doesn't have enough football stadiums they could play it in.
Of course. Well, the US hosted the World Cup by themselves, I think, in 1990, didn't they? Or 94, was it? Anyway,
they could definitely do it as well. Alluding to.
Of course they could.
But
so
cash money.
Sweden knocked out Czech Republic. So Poland and Sweden there. And Wales beat Austria, so Austria are gone. And Scotland play Ukraine, so a big game there. Wales haven't made the World Cup for something like close to 60 years.
And there's a lot of Ukrainian fans getting around at the moment as well.
Yeah, we imagined. Poor Scotland.
Yeah. Are we the bad guys?
Yeah,
can we win this game?
Well, I don't know. I think that a lot of people will want Ukraine to win for morale.
To get through,
yes. Yeah, a little bit of morale. So that was the week in international soccer. For me as an Italian Australian, not
not a great week in soccer.
Not a great week. Anyways, you win some, you lose some. NFL, boys, let's get through it. Free agency, a lot of people getting paid.
Yeah,
some big bombshells.
A lot of movement. It's I think the chat's been Madden career, franchise mode with everyone, buying whatever they want and moving around. So currently in the depths of pro days in the calendar for the NFL with the draft a month away. Yep. But, free agency opened the day after our potty finished. So it's been 2 weeks. So a lot's happened. The two kind of big position changes that we want to talk about. I've got Von Miller in there. He got paid $120 million over 6 years. So great deal for him for
a 6-year deal.
Yeah.
How old is he?
33-ish, 32-ish. Yeah.
What the hell?
So I think in
around our age. I love when you say that. Yeah. Von Miller's our age. Thanks, Mark. Yeah. Thanks.
I think it turns out being
like when we were looking at Hawkins and Kennedy.
Who
was the other forward that we were looking
Just
at?
give us a couple. Give us a couple of weeks.
He's a year older than us. Yeah. Kick 700 AFL goals.
Yeah. Give us a couple of weeks. We'll get rigs like that. Yeah. I think it ends up being more like a 2-year deal with 4 years of extra voidable shit. But anyway, going to Buffalo, a huge weapon up there. But the main
Buffalo defense is going to be nasty.
Yes. Yeah, the main changes have been at the quarterback and the wide receiver position. So we start with quarterback. I think we covered off most of the trades originally. So since then we had Matt Ryan.
It was his birthday yesterday.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Yes, it was.
33rd?
That was all my Twitter feed.
Yep.
March 25, 1989. Same vintage as you boys.
Yes.
Nice.
So
nice. Career accomplishments about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Easy. Matt Ryan goes to the Colts. That was one of the QB trades.
What were our thoughts there? Colts obviously got a good offensive line. Matt Ryan.
Got the running back they need.
Yeah, going towards the end of his career. Will they draft someone and try to hand it over to them?
Had no weapons left at the Falcons besides Pitts. So, I think it's probably good for him to get out there. By all accounts,
upgrade on Carson Wentz.
Interesting.
Well, who was the last to play in the Super Bowl?
Wasn't Matt Ryan an MVP?
Yeah. Yes, he has been an MVP, and he was in the Super Bowl 3 years ago? So 4 years ago.
5?
No, it wasn't that long ago.
Get that up.
Anyway, you look at that up when they lose the Patriots.
The 28-3 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that was Brady's last year there, wasn't it?
No, I don't think so. I think
play one more year after that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he goes there for some low round picks. I think that's a good move for them. He's getting on there, so it wouldn't surprise me if both Colts and Falcons are in the quarterback market come draft time. Mariota goes to the Falcons. There's the replacement there.
Is he going to be the starting quarterback week 1?
If they don't draft anyone high, probably.
Yep.
By all accounts, a lot of teams really liked what he did there, filling in for Carr occasionally at the Raiders.
Obviously, unbelievable talent coming out of college and just hasn't really quite gotten to it.
I believe he rejoins one of his Tennessee coaches over the Falcons as well. So there's a bit of connection anyway. The big one was Deshaun Watson getting traded
to Cleveland.
To Cleveland from the Texans. It looks like Texans are going to stick with Mills through the year, whether they draft someone as well. But the neck is
Davis
safe.
Mills, eh?
Yeah, the neck is safe in Houston.
Yep.
Sean Watson, bit of inter-trade. They traded everything for him. So
through the kitchen sink.
Yeah, all the picks, and then through...
He's second highest paid quarterback now in the NFL,
No, well, he's got the most guaranteed money. So I think his average year is probably less than Rodgers. But Rodgers only did a 3-year, $150 million deal, whereas I think Watson's ended up being either 4 or 5 for the 230. But the thing was, his deal is 100% guaranteed, so which was $80 million more guaranteed money than what Aaron Rodgers got. So it's that was probably the big difference.
According to this thing that I got off the reliable source of Instagram, salary-wise, Deshaun Watson is number 2 at $46 million, overtaking Patrick Mahomes. That is interesting.
Yeah, so I think he's I think we talked about this. I can't remember we talked. His base salary is like $1 million for this year. So if he gets suspended, then it's not an issue, and the rest of it's like
it's all in the fine print.
Yeah, exactly. So they gave up the house for him, which means Baker's got to be moved for somewhere. He hasn't currently been moved.
No, still.
Mitch Trubisky's now at the Steelers. So that was the whole essentially. like easy a third of the league's got new quarterbacks next year. So, and then there's also the draft to come with potentials, more guys going to be starting in new spots. So, big changes in the quarterback market. AFC quarterbacks very stacked. NFC maybe a little bit light on. You've got Stafford there, of course, and then Tom Brady coming back, and of course, Aaron Rodgers. So
just two-time MVP.
Yeah,
but so we've had Wilson and Ryan leave the NFC to go over to the AFC.
Plus, you had the AFC already with Allen, Mahomes, Lamar, etc., etc. John Watson's over there now too. So, yeah. So that was quarterback market and the movements there. Deshaun Watson's presser on Thursday. Yes, it was Thursday. It was a bit of a train work. It probably wasn't really needed.
Train whack?
Yeah, train whack. Well, his quotes were just as bad as my speech just there.
Jeez, must have said some fuck things.
Well, he didn't say some fuck things, but the quote was like, he was talking about his what he does, with his community service, etc. And, saying I'm hands-on in the community probably didn't go over well. Really defended himself, saying that I'd done nothing wrong and I'm not going to settle on any of these cases. I'm going to prove myself.
So what? So the legal battle's ongoing.
Yeah. So no criminal charges. That's why he got traded. But he still got the civil suits. So he's being sued.
Yep.
But
no criminal charges. So he can play.
Yeah. So when he got traded to Cleveland, since he's now in the Cleveland area, they in their state guidelines they rechecked his case and then also didn't want to press criminal charges. So,
but he got arrested as soon as within 24 hours of going to Cleveland, didn't he? I'm pretty sure I read that.
Maybe.
But I imagine it would have been to chase up that.
Yeah,
and then they had the conversation.
The state essentially had to do the check. I don't actually know who got arrested. I knew they
I'm pretty sure he got arrested. I don't think it was for any new offences. I think it was just something.
No criminal charges. He probably gets suspended, and then he'll have to sort out his legal battles with the ladies in question. But yeah.
So do you think they keep Baker for a little bit, or they have to?
Baker wants out. Like, he just wants to sit around.
Yeah, fair enough. Where do you see him end up? We just spoke about
where's free.
Well, we just spoke about the Texans going with Davis Mills. Do you think that he could end up there? Not really.
Not really. They've got all the picks in the world, so they probably want their guy versus trying to get Baker. Who else is left? Steelers.
Steelers look like they're going to go
and they're going to go. Haskins still there, and
Trubisky.
So they'll probably fight it out. Like a lot of places are sorted, which is the kind of the problem now.
Carolina.
They really want a franchise, and after having a dud in Sam Darnold, basically,
rushing leader through 4 weeks after all those touchdowns. I wouldn't call him a dud.
Well, Cam Newton's there, but I think after they did the same thing with Sam Darnold. Do they want the following year's retread in Baker Mayfield and try that again? No, I think they were the team, unfortunately, in that Rodgers, Wilson, Watson trifecta that missed out and didn't pick any. They wanted the franchise guy like that, and they didn't get it. So they're the unlucky ones to miss out. I don't know what they're going to do. That's not a bad spot, but I don't think they will chase Baker, and I think everywhere else is pretty well set. Saints missed out on Watson as well, but I think they then signed Winston back.
They re-signed Winston.
Yep. Marcus Mariota moves to Falcons.
Yes.
If they look like they're going with Mariota,
Seahawks.
Yes.
That's probably
nice.
Whether they go with the lock or whether they draft someone because they got all those pucks. Because they can pick 9 now.
Bucks, the New Zealand Seahawks.
They can pick someone at 9 maybe, which I think is probably what they'll do and get them to compete with Locke. Again, unfortunately, I think Baker he struggled. He's been banged up, and whether maybe just missed his windows. Everyone just his problem is he's got Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen in his draft class, and now he's going towards where Rosen ended up, and everyone forgot about him. So he's unfortunately now forgettable. So then the last on Seahawks, the last bit of news there, quarterback-wise, is Cap. Kaepernick has been back training. He trained with, Tyler Lockett, and throwing balls to him, portraying the Seahawks. Pete Carroll's been talking about him. Essentially, I think the Seahawks want to sign him, and they've been putting out the feelers about how would the fans react to that, how would ownership react to that.
Interesting. Pacific Northwest, historically one of the most progressive places in America.
Yeah, and with everything else that's happening in the world currently, like it's not to say the story's moved on a little bit, but it is not at the forefront as it once was like 2 years ago.
But do people think like that?
Some people do, yes. Especially in the US with mass media feeding shit down their throats about what they should worry about.
Yeah, no, you are right.
Those commies from Russia.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They're back in Cold War.
So. You remember how COVID used to be a thing before Russia invaded
no one
Ukraine?
reports on it anymore.
That's right, yeah. Well, maybe I was giving the people too much benefit of the doubt in that one.
Because we talked about Pete Carroll doesn't want to do a rebuild, and Colin Kaepernick is a potential way to get hopefully high-quality quarterback. Big question marks on that because he's been out for 6 years.
Yeah,
it's a hot minute.
Yeah, it's a hot minute. Maybe not quite 6, but a long time.
Yeah, so there's a bit of chat floating around there. He's been back training. By all accounts, looks good. Never was a huge fan of his release, but hey, he took the 49ers to Super Bowl, so he's got talent.
Receivers
was then the other massive news.
Yep.
So it's where do we start? Devontae Adams.
Start with Devontae.
Yeah,
I think you have to start from the best and move.
I was trying to go maybe the story wise, but
you want to go chronological?
Yeah, well, because let's start with Devontae Adams because he was actually the first one. So he goes to the Raiders, gets paid as the highest wide receiver in the NFL. Gets traded.
As he deserves to be, as he is the best wide receiver in the NFL, as I have said in 2 years.
Gets traded for all the picks. Hopefully he stays being the best wide receiver in the world and links up with his college quarterback and Derek Carr.
Yeah, Fresno State. That hadn't crossed my mind at all. Because we were talking about where if Rodgers goes, does Adams go? They retain Rodgers. They tried to franchise tag Adams. He didn't like it.
Yeah, it wasn't. And they offered him a deal. It wasn't. It's $5 million less than what this deal was signed for. They chatted. They put it out that they offered him the same money, and he picked the Raiders, which is not. You can understand why. Like, he doesn't have to worry about the to and fro from Rodgers. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play for over the next 3 years? He's getting a long-term deal, and his quarterback's a known commodity. He does go to an offense that's got probably 2 other wide receivers that are of good caliber.
Stacked, like Adams, Waller, Hunter Renfrow, and they're all different. You got that big body in Waller. You got your small slot guy in Renfrow.
So hopefully he'll get more looks, and he's definitely going to get a lot of passes thrown his way. So
Carr looked good at times. Yeah. I think they just need to protect him, and they need to be able to establish the run. I think they struggle sometimes establishing the running game.
What I love out of this is, it happened the day after Aaron Rodgers signed his contract officially, and then all the mock drafts that have been coming out where they've got 3 first-round picks and they're picking 3 quarterbacks, as like the joke is, how are we going to help Aaron Rodgers? Let's pick all quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Very hilarious. Be a typical thing to do. Jordan Love still being in the chat for trade bait. Like, I think people would rather trade for Jordan Love than Baker Mayfield at this point, but that's to be seen. But hey, they get all the stuff. Adams is happy. He's at Las Vegas, always wanted to play for the Raiders, supposedly. So good for him. Following from that, Allen Robinson signed a big deal with the Rams, which I think is an excellent get for them.
Thank God for Allen Robinson. He went to Chicago after being a star at Jacksonville and has been starved.
We'll put it this way:
of getting the ball.
This is probably his best quarterback since high school that he's played with. So so looking for a huge year from him, and he's got Cooper playing on his outside, so he's going to have plenty of good opportunities there. Means maybe they bring OBJ back. OBJ still floating around out there. Christian Kirk got paid fucking loads, but I think we might have mentioned that somewhere. He was the first one, which then kicked off the huge money for all the wide.
I don't think it happened because I don't think the free agency had opened.
That was day one of free agency. It seems so long ago now, but all the memes, it was like, if he's getting paid that, everyone else is getting paid, add an extra 0. They're getting paid $1 billion. Allen Robinson to the Rams. Maybe OBJ stays. That freed up Robert Woods. He got traded to Tennessee because they're not keeping Julio. So Julio is still out there on the free agent market. Then during the week, Juju signed with the Chiefs, and for whatever reason, they thought it was a great idea to trade Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. So
what's the thinking there?
he want to get paid, so he's getting heaps of money. I don't think you can keep Mahomes, Kels, and all the others there at the same, which is unfortunate for them. If you look at the AFC West, they've gotten worse and everyone else has gotten better. So, I think Mahomes is going to miss having that deep threat, and Tyreek Hill's going to be really disappointed, constantly underthrown by Tua. So we'll see what that looks like. But
maybe we see a different usage of him.
Yeah, well, they've got Jalen Waddle there, so it's going to be a lot of really quick, short routes, I'd say, and it's going to be really painful for defenses. So I don't mind the move. It was that or the Jets for him. That was his options.
I'm glad he went to Miami.
Yeah, same. Zach Wilson's there, and they could see what Zach's all about. But yeah, I think Miami's not a bad spot to go to. And then from there, MVS to shit on Aaron Rodgers again, get rid of another. They were trying to bring him back, but got paid good money.
Don't have a crack at his name?
Nope.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling we're talking about?
Scantling being his stepfather's name, I believe. So that's why he's added it. Because I think he signed like a 3-year, 60 mil kind of deal.
That's big money for what his output has been. Obviously, has been shown to be really good as a deep threat.
Well, I think
but hasn't consistently put up numbers.
Yeah, so that's what they've got. They've replaced Hill with Juju and MVS essentially. So they've got they've got a guy that hopefully can do some possession, and then they've got a guy that will be their deep threat and to cover it off. And
interesting, a guy that in Juju who we've seen how talented he can be, and a guy in MVS who we've seen glimpses, but MVS probably better season last year than Juju, maybe more.
Well, Juju was hurt last year.
Yeah, well, that is true. Yeah. So, look, they've got one of the best guys in the business throwing them the ball. So
I worry just for Patrick Mahomes' mental health, having to deal with his family and then also Juju with all the TikToks.
A few memes of that getting around.
I'm not sure how long that's... Yeah.
I think he probably loves his wife. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, and it's maybe more of an internet thing. I think Patrick Mahomes will be fine.
Yeah,
I agree.
Anyone else? Robert Woods with Titans?
Yeah, I said that. He got traded to the Titans, so hopefully he comes back well from his ACL and will do a job there, playing across from AJ Brown. But yeah, big movement there, and a lot of other movements around the place. But most of the big names... Well, there's still a heap of names.
Yeah, I've got guys that are still unsigned. Bobby Wagner, Stephon Gilmore, OBJ, Tyrann Mathieu, Julio Jones, Jadeveon Clowney, Jarvis Landry, Melvin Gordon. And there is others there.
Yeah, so plenty of really good talent.
So a lot to keep an eye on before the draft.
Yeah, which is a month away from today.
Yeah. Did we establish draft date? I think we did. Anyways,
yes.
Yeah, it's a month away.
Yeah, it's it's 28th for us. The 20th starts on the 20th.
It's literally a month.
Yes.
Cool beans. Happy with the NFL?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. All right. Let's the final round. Ding, ding. We have to try and keep up a bit of a pace here. I'm just conscious of the time. So Volkov Aspinall at the O2 Arena. The UK fans were not disappointed. A lot of the British fighters fought very well. I was about to say played very well. A lot of rugby league about the English fighters. They're all from the north of England, a lot from Manchester, Liverpool areas. It was a good viewing spectacle. I think it was the highest grossing fight night ever.
Yep. They did heaps of gate as well there.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously a lot of support for the UFC in England. I'm sure Dana will be licking his lips to get back there at some stage. I caught the last 3 of the main fights. I think it was Sunday morning our time.
Yep.
I was up and it didn't really kind of click that it was in England. Because we're kind of used to watching it more sort of afternoon.
Just like, why are all these pommy blokes fighting? I don't know.
Yeah. What I was like, why is this crowd like slinging beer in the air and all chanting soccer songs? This is real strange for Vegas. Anyways,
it's a big boys trip, though.
They weren't disappointed at all. Started off for the Poms with Molly McCann, Meatball Molly, what a nickname, with the spinning back elbow.
Huge spinning back elbow.
Definitely a contender for knockout of the year. I think 4th spinning back elbow ever to be a knockout.
Very, I think Brian Ortega got Korean Zombie with one.
Yep.
That was the last one, I think, before this one.
Yeah, that's ages ago.
Yeah, but it's a pretty rare.
Yeah, it's less than 5 from memory.
Yeah, right. Clean on that right cheek. A good night. She is okay. Paddy Pimblett, they're good mates. They're both from Liverpool.
Their training part, I think.
Training partners.
Same gym.
Yeah, they can call each other. I think Paddy calls her his older sister. Yeah. She sent her to the shadow realm after that landed. Can you check her? Has she got a ranking yet? She's 5-3 in the UFC. Came out of a rough area like drug abuse.
Yeah, England.
England. Just England as a whole. Yeah, that's right. A rough area in fucking Oxford or somewhere. Jesus. A rough area in Liverpool, and managed to stay out of that, the drugs and the crime kind of a lifestyle. I think she's a PE teacher, and is now a professional fighter. Worked at Subway. I think her handle on Instagram is Subway artist to mixed martial. No, sandwich artist to mixed martial artist.
Yep. All right. Got there in the end.
Currently still unranked.
Yeah, I think most of these guys on this card were unranked.
Yeah, and Paddy didn't get a ranking either, I don't believe.
He's hot and up and comer. I think this is his 3rd fight in the UFC.
I think he might have a touch more. Anyways, Paddy the baddie. He got a rear naked choke on Kazula Vargas in the first round. I like him. He's going to be a polarising guy. A lot of people kind of going, he's just trying to be the next Connor, stealing his style.
He's a bit different.
I think he is different, yeah. I think he's got his own style.
Yeah, he's more soccer hooligan.
He's definitely, yeah.
Connor was.
You can see he's a big Liverpool fan. He wants to sell at Anfield. He's every third word is lad. You know the in-betweeners. Jay with the bowl cut, the bowl cut off the in-betweeners.
Well, let's hope he's not as horny as Jay was.
I reckon he looks like a Jack J off the in-betweeners. That's my my thoughts there. I'll tell you what, he doesn't fight like Jay off the in-betweeners. That's for sure. He's a bad man. He's well loved, obviously, in Liverpool, and he is just so fucking English. He was singing Liverpool songs and just being an absolute scouser, and he wants to get a sellout at Anfield, and he'd probably get it, I'd reckon. So interesting to see what Dana does moving forward there.
How much do you think he was paid for that fight?
For that fight, I know they all got so anyone that got a finish,
the whole night got bonuses.
I don't know,
which is a 50k bonus.
50k bonus. What was the original? 50.
12 to show, 12 to win.
24.
Yeah.
Jesus. So his bonus was more than his.
So that's again. Look, I think everyone on this card was unranked, so that goes with it as well. They're trying to grow.
No, the top end were ranked.
They were.
Yeah.
The two guys.
Aspinall and Volkov. And then
Volkov, yes.
Yeah, and featherweight fight between Arnold Allen and Dan Hooker. They were also ranked. Yeah. Dan Hooker,
go there.
Where to going forward? He's lost 4 out of his last 5. He's only 32.
Did come down a weight for this.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, which is strange to go down after you've had losses.
Yeah, and considering the time frame as well, like it's only been a couple of months.
Only been a few months, and then try to cut all that weight. Yeah, I don't know. Arnold Allen, he's another POM, called out Calvin Qatar. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've heard Cater before, but I think it's Qatar. Anyways, as in the World Cup, the crap World Cup that FIFA wants to play in God and say that Russia's not allowed to go to. Anyways, that's topic of another conversation. The heavyweight bout was between Alexander Volkov and Tom Aspinall. Speaking of Ruskies, there's a lot of Ukrainian flags in there. He got heavily booed as he came out. Would you expect anything different out of an English?
So smart for a dude with a Russian name. Yes.
Russian. Just in general.
Any time of year, not necessarily.
Yeah, exactly.
What events, yeah.
You think, when City and United play, or Chelsea and Arsenal, or, Millwall and West Ham, the old, we want to go north. Do you think when Rangers play Celtic, it's all like, well done, chap, good on you today? No, they kill each other over that kind of shit. So Tom Aspinall, interesting story. His old man was actually one of the first BJJ black belts in the UK, was instrumental in the growth of that sport in the UK. And all Aspinall ever wanted to do was do BJJ and then sort of converted across to mixed martial arts. And he made an absolute meal of Volkov, who is a former heavyweight champion, isn't he? I think he...
No, he never won the belt. But he's ranked high.
Can you chase that up? Did Volkov ever win a belt? No. You're pretty confident in that, aren't you?
Yes.
Anyways, Aspinall, we're not that far removed, are we, from, our convict history, I guess, from the Poms. First thing he said after the win, first of all, someone buy me a beer, and then second of all, he called out Shui Vasa. That'd be awesome for Australian English relations, obviously the arch enemy in a lot of sports.
Well, the UFC has done an Ashes fight card before, so
maybe
that would be an interesting one.
Indeed. And then as he was walking out, he got handed 2 cups of beer, and he did the old walrus, but they tend to work better with, in a 2-bottle kind of situation where you can actually get it in your mouth. About half went in his mouth and a half went all over him. Typical Pomish lad. He shot up the rankings, and Volkov obviously dropped a touch. Was Volkov ever a heavyweight world champion? Or did I
not for UFC. He was champ for Bellator, and I think he won the M1 heavyweight as well.
Okay.
So he's a world champ, just not in the UFC.
Yeah, thanks for clarification. I'm an idiot. Rankings. Can you bring up those rankings? So Aspinall shot up. Can you see where Arnold Allen is at in featherweight? Dan Hooker obviously shot down a lot. So if you don't want to maybe go to heavyweight first if you keep scrolling down. So Aspinall straight into the 6th.
Took the 6th spot.
Straight into the 6th. Where did Volkov go to?
Down 1.
Just down 1. And then look at, just stay on heavyweight there for a sec. Curtis Blades, who won today, we'll talk about that in just a second. And Derek Lewis are ahead of him before you get to Tuivasa. So it'd be interesting to see who Dana sets Aspinall up with going forward. And if you wouldn't mind just going up to featherweight there, where did Arnold Allen get to? He got to 6. And
Dan's not ranked there. Where's he in lightweight?
Hooker's not ranked, and he's
13. He's down 5.
13th, down 5 in lightweight. So poor Dan Hooker may be coming towards the end of his UFC career. He's only 32, so maybe he can turn it around.
Yeah, and Dana said he's fought 4 times in under 12 months.
Yeah,
so he's
a warrior. Give him a break.
I've got no issues with Dan. He's been fighting absolute killers. It's not like Greg Hardy. So different investment from the
and
UFC.
There's a very bad joke to be made there, and I'm not going to make it. Today we had fight night in Columbus. Actually, we weren't talking about him before, but we were talking about NFL. Joe Burrow in the house. You can imagine the applause for him when he would come onto the big screen. At flyweight, Askarov, another Rusky, getting beaten. The American very happy with that by New Zealand's Kai Kara France. Kai gets a win in 3 rounds on his 29th birthday. Pretty good birthday present for him. He'll shoot up the rankings, possibly straight to 2.
That'd be good because then there's who's in that division? Is it
Figueiredo and Moreno?
Yeah, and
they've just finished their 3rd. So
and
I've never heard of a quad.
Yeah, but the thing is, Figueiredo only just won that belt back. So
exactly. So it was a draw, and then Moreno got it off him, and then Figgy got it back.
Yeah. So it's either they run that back or
4. I've never heard of 4.
Yeah, it would be the first time someone's had 4 fights, but it's also the first time where it's gone clearly back and forth.
1-1-1.
Yeah. So it's but then France probably is going to, once they update this rankings, which hasn't been known, he'd be in that conversation if they don't do that 4th fight.
Well, generally you go to the man that you beat. So
you put him in 2.
2, yeah.
And does he get then say Marino as in for a contender fight, or
you'd have to have a contender fight?
Yeah, I agree.
Figgy doesn't want to do Marino and then wants number 2, or do they go and then whoever wins? Then he will get the winner of that 4th fight. So he's in the conversation as well, getting that.
Exactly. He's in the conversation. I agree with what you just said, Monks. I don't think he can go straight for a title fight, although that was what he was saying he wanted after the win today. So, yeah, does he get Moreno or does he have to go through Pantoja or Royval or Perez first? Time will tell. Other results from today, Brian Barberena defeated Matt Brown. Matt Brown is from Columbus. It was Columbus. It was a split decision. The home crowd not very happy with that one. In the women's flyweight.
Well, by all accounts, a really good fight.
Yeah.
Went the distance and they beat each other up.
We were no. Did you catch any of that this morning? I must have been doing something.
That ended just before we left.
Okay. Alexa Grasso defeated Joanne Wood in the women's flyweight rear naked choke. Grasso was 9th ranked, Wood 7th, maybe a straight swap in the rankings. And then the heavyweight, Curtis Razor Blades got the job done early in the second round against Chris Dorcas. Heavyweight's pretty stacked, isn't it? There's a lot of fucking assassins up there in
and
heavyweight.
That size and that power, like get a shot like that and it's a good night.
It's generally the way they finish, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Blades there at 4. Aspinall wants Tuivasa. There'll be Blades hasn't fought Tuivasa, so that might be on the cards.
Blades had just lost though before that.
Yeah, that is true.
Who did he lose to?
Did Derek Lewis beat him?
Maybe that was it.
Can you chase that up, please, mate?
Was it that Organ? So yeah. Anyway,
good.
Yeah.
Good. Dead air. Nice. We'll roll it into a shocking story of George Masvidal attacking Colby Covington. George or Jorge. I think it's George. I'm pretty sure is the way that it gets presented.
surprisingly, no video of this is coming out yet.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. Apparently, by the accounts that we've been reading, was wearing a mask and a hoodie, ran up and sucker punched, coward punch, we call it here down under.
Got a few off.
Colby, broke his teeth. Marks, if you wouldn't mind chasing up a story.
So Masvidal posted bail at 15K and Kobe is doing charges.
He's going
to press charges. Essentially probably just to fuck with him as well.
Yeah. And this answers our question. You remember how leading into Covington and Masvidal were saying, do these guys generally hate each other or is it all theatre Covington and Usman? No, they generally fucking hate each other. There was a lot of, broken trust. They obviously used to be training partners and mates. And
there was some chat that because Colby was talking shit about his kids essentially, and that's what got Masvidal pissed off. But then Masvidal was also telling Ben Askren he's going to end his bloodline. So kettle call egg, pottle black. It seems silly. Yeah, in my opinion.
Yep.
Anything
further there?
Well, I think a couple of fighters, I guess, came out on social as well, giving their own opinions. So
fighters having opinions on assault laws sounds like a great mix.
So I think the first one was Nate Diaz came out during the week. So apparently before the incident happened, Masvidal went on socials and posted a few second video clip about how Kobe needs to show his face or something like that. Apparently that's something in the US where you put that out, it means that you're going to find him and punch him in the face. So it's got, I think that there shows intent.
See you in the streets.
Yeah, pretty much. So Nate was a little bit like, come on, guy. And there's also reference to Conor McGregor as well. Keep your shit on lock. Don't post stuff on social media like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then also on the flip side of that, well, not really flip side of that, but during the week, Khabib came out as well saying that everyone should boycott Kobe Covington. The fact that he's going out attacking family because
talking shit,
has got a really strong family connection. Obviously with his dad being his coach and all the stuff that happened between him and Conor McGregor as well. Khabib's sort of been Kobe's not a good person. We should boycott him. He shouldn't have an opportunity to fight, especially if he's pressing charges as well. He's taking it off the field, out of the ring. Sorry,
I don't mind that out of Khabib, but I think that's a good line to draw. Is family. You can talk much shit as you want on someone else.
Also, you just sucker punch the dude that didn't see you coming after he'd beaten you for 5 rounds in the octagon. So,
it's definitely changed my opinion of George Masvidal.
Yeah. Hopefully it's just a brain snap and
What does that mean?
But-
Hopefully, it's just a brain snap.
He did the same thing to Leon Edwards. Like, that's the dude he is.
It's a show of character.
Yeah, I mean, if you, again, show of character, like he came up in that street fighting scene back in the day.
He is a gangster.
That's just how he operates. Yeah, so maybe there's something to be said about his behaviour, and he probably doesn't really deserve another. Yeah,
that's why his name's Gamebred, because he came up in them streets.
Came up and through the game.
Yeah.
That Cain Velasquez court date is April 12.
Very interesting to see what happens with that.
Follow that.
Yeah.
When it comes.
See what sort of precedent they'll set.
Yes. Boxing, the celebrity fight between Thor Bjornsson and Eddie Hall.
Strongest man in the world.
Yeah. Thor beat him. Did you catch much of the highlights?
Thor was more class, but also I'd also say that Thor had 3 or 4 previous fights before this. Like, he took this really seriously.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if Eddie got in the same sort of level of competition beforehand. But I've seen a bunch of stuff of Eddie training with really well-known boxers as well. But, you know, that's shit you put out on Instagram.
Yep.
Either way, he was always going to have a challenge fighting Thor, who's like 3 feet taller than him.
3.
Yeah, the reach was always, and he used it, and he just
the reach was.
It's pretty hard to beat someone that's literally got like a 12-inch reach advantage on him.
Yeah. So anyway, and with that power, you just got to hit him once again. Same thing, knocked him out. Speaking of other knockouts, SPW, Sonny Bill Williams also murdered Barry Hall during the week.
I just wanted to go back to this fight. I think sort of just quickly talking about how, I guess we've mentioned the state of boxing. Apparently there was a world championship fight on this fight card, and it wasn't the main event.
Well, the same thing happened on that bloody Logan Paul and Jake Paul fights. They were the main, and the unders were actually... some of the other divisions, not a lot of people pay attention to in boxing. True. But they also fought on down.
And it was in England, and they scheduled it on the same night as the UFC in England.
That's right.
Boxing's scared, man. Boxing is scared of the come up of UFC. Obviously, boxing, there's still a lot more money involved, but they are. You can tell that there's some tactics involved here to try to thwart the influence, the rapid rise of the UFC.
So back on Sonny Bill, 45 seconds, gets the job done. All the chats about Gal next, though he did fight Barry Hall to a decision. Be interested to see what happens there. Sonny Bill looks excellent.
You'd think Sonny Bill makes light work of Gal as well.
Yeah, potentially. I think Gal will enjoy the paycheck as he has for the others. And then, whether Sonny Bill wants to chase the title at heavyweight or I'll call it a day. Anyway, it's... it kind of went a little bit under the radar, this one, especially with Tim Zhu coming up today. I think the rugby league fights were probably a little bit overdone last year, and it's kind of, the desire or the appetite, the demand for it is not as high as it was.
Yeah, I didn't watch his fight live Wednesday night.
I didn't even know it was on until I saw the highlights.
Pay-per-view.
I'm glad I didn't.
You couldn't because it was on Stan Sport.
That's probably why. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, it was there dying with rugby union.
Nice. We were speaking about it in the car, the analogy between rugby union being the boxing of the fight world. Interesting, because on a world stage, rugby union is bigger than rugby league, and boxing is bigger than the UFC. Yes. But definitely in our circles, I think the opposite would be true.
Oh, and in this country, yes. Trying to get a resurgency for boxing in this country is Tim Zhu.
Nice segue.
They did get the unanimous decision here for his first debut in America, having fought all these other fights in Australia. Went the distance, 12 rounds. What did you guys think of this one?
Yeah, so he got knocked down in the first, and it was a really strong right from Gaucher. And then the second was pretty even, and then it was the Tim Zhu show, and he just absolutely
maybe a bit of nerves to start with.
Absolutely worked him. Yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe people were sleeping a little bit on Gaucher's power. Like he's very, very powerful. For what is it? A super welterweight?
Super
welterweight, light middleweight.
Another thing that boxing needs to fuck off is having the different. The weight divisions.
3 different names for one weight division.
The weight divisions are like a quarter pound apart. It's those two.
You go to Macca's, you have a quarter pounder, and you go up to the next division.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I'd be in trouble. I could go up 3 weight divisions in one night. My goodness.
Yeah, don't get a family box meal.
No, definitely overdone it on the Mackies.
But that's a huge step forward for Tim. He needed to show well in America.
Yeah, it's massive exposure for him, isn't it?
Yeah, because he is the mandatory for one of the
13,000 belts.
Yeah. I can't remember if it's WBA or not, but he's a mandatory for one of those. So he should get a title fight in the not too distant future. Showing well in America helps his chances for that to be put together.
So the next fight for the super welterweight, like middleweight or whatever division, is actually going to be a unification fight between Jamil Charlo and Brian Castano.
Oh, okay.
So, and based on that, he was probably going to be the next fight for whoever wins that. So he could be world champion.
Fighting for a world champion.
Fighting for a world champion.
Let's hope so.
Unified belt as well. So
long time since we've had an Australian boxing world champ. Well, actually, no. Did Jeff Horn?
Yes, Jeff Horn's the last one.
Yeah, so actually not that long ago, really.
Yeah.
He won it off Manny.
And I think Tim Tszyu could be fighting for the belt as early as May, potentially.
Yeah, right. That's a quick turnaround.
Yep.
Yeah.
Should we get into the F1, boys?
Yes.
It's been a long show.
F1 will finish us off.
F1 will finish us off. I'll leave most of the talking to you guys, being the two F1 experts, and I'll try to have some input and some stat chasing if you need it.
Well, we'll run through it particularly, noting time, of course. So first race was in Bahrain. Ferrari did finish 1-2. So Leclerc with the win. It was good to see a bit more competitive racing. Bahrain, probably not the greatest track to show the new improvements with all the new regulations, but it's good to see when Max and Leclerc were going back and forth. They could go back and forth.
Yep. Yeah.
So that was really good.
Definitely.
So then we had both Red Bulls fail at the end of the race, as in they had engine problems.
Yep.
By all accounts, they were talking about fuel pressure issues, whether they couldn't get enough fuel out of the tank to keep the engines going, but they both had the same problem. Maybe they underfueled them or something. And
I think there was talk about fuel load.
Yeah.
I think the drag was a lot more stronger than they thought, so they didn't have enough fuel.
Look up an NRL score for us too, by the way.
Can do.
Yeah, so hopefully they can rectify those problems for this week. That meant the Mercedes could come back into it and get a few extra points higher up the leaderboard. Though that Mercedes has been struggling, and they did struggle again in the qualifying overnight. So to finish it up on that race, McLaren probably the biggest one to be worried about, and they have followed their form into this week. They did finish, I think Ricciardo was 14th and Lando was right next to him. But they also had 4 runners not finish this race. So
a fair few accidents.
Yeah. So
what happened? Gasly, Verstappen, Perez.
Yeah, Gasly.
Yes, that was last week.
Oh, you guys are already on Saudi.
No. So Gasly didn't finish because his car caught fire. Max and Perez didn't finish because they ran out of fuel. Let's go with that.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they couldn't finish the race.
Idiots. I've driven my car down to 0 Ks and made it to the servo.
Yeah, it was either not enough fuel or not enough fuel pressure, or where they were getting the fuel from for the fuel pump was too low. So
probably the price of fuel at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking $2.20 a litre.
Saving a few litres, but anyway, it didn't help them, and they end up losing that.
Yeah.
So
probably a big one for that race was Valtteri Bottas finishing 6th there.
And he also qualified excellent for today's race.
Yeah.
So let's move to Saudi Arabia.
Also, Kevin Magnussen for Haas.
Also straight back
came in at number 5. So Haas notoriously not running too great last season.
He's in Mazepin's car, so where they finished last every race last year, he's now finished 5th in the exact same car. So kind of showing his pedigree as a driver there. So it was great to see him finish in 5th place there behind the Mercedes. Can I talk about Saudi Arabia now?
Yeah, you can. Sorry, a little bit disjointed there. Canterbury are currently leading Manly 10-6, about to go into the half.
There you go. Cool. So doing all right as well. Thank you, Lachlan, in the chat for the heads up.
Mr. Lachlan to you.
Yeah, Mr. Lachlan. So there was, I think Friday, when they were just about to kick off practice, there was a rebel missile attack that landed outside the track. I'm not sure. They didn't really give distance. It hit some facility which was in the vicinity of the track. But they were talking about how the track's like probably the safest place in the world, kind of like Australia was in Pakistan. So by all accounts, everything's still going ahead. For the race. So they had long, like hour-long meetings with the team principals and the drivers kind of discussing where they were and how safe they were. By all accounts, they were definitely worried. A rebel missile attack on an oil depot, by the looks of it, is a bit scary.
By Yemeni Houthis.
Yeah.
They claim responsibility.
Yes.
I think there'd been a couple of earlier attacks probably within the last month. That sort of led to this one, I guess. For
any of those that like the mainstream media, there's been a war going on in Yemen for fucking years, actually. So thanks for reporting on that, Channel 7. But not to make light of the crisis over there. Look at these scenes, man. That a lot of smoke. So big attack. But they're saying that the drivers are all safe. Is there crowds? Do they?
I don't know on crowds.
Not sure.
It's a night race, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Because it's very late here. It'll be 2:00 in the morning for us.
I think it was at 8 p.m. race.
Yeah, so it's they've said it's going ahead. That's what they're planning to do. The race is going ahead, barring anything else happening in the next couple of hours. So from that qualifying. Mick Schumacher had a bad crash, went into the wall and then kind of pinballed across the walls. Was a pretty bad crash. He's okay. Again, going to the quality of the safety of F1 cars these days. Hit a ripple strip, too much power down, and he lost it and went straight into the wall. So that car is out. So there'll be one less runner, which I think means everyone that was behind him in qualifying moved up. Sergio Perez does get pole. The Mercedes...
Let's talk about that.
Well, that is huge. That's his first pole after 215 races in F1, beating out, of course, the Ferraris and his teammate. First Mexican to earn a pole, but also apparently longest stretch to first pole. Mark Webber held that record with 130 races.
Nearly double.
Let's quick math. There's 20 races on the calendar. That's almost 10 years in the sport before he gets a pole.
There we go.
He has been around.
20 times
he's
10.
been around
Let's
a while.
I think we're getting better.
He been at Force India for quite a while, then moving around and then going over and getting a seat at Red Bull. So good for him. I've been watching back through Drive to Survive, and it's kind of interesting to see where the drivers were in 2018 and now where they are now, and kind of the history there. Great to see him get a pole. Mercedes struggling. They didn't make Q3. McLaren's struggling even more. They are behind them. They're going to have a rough start. Danny got a 3-place grid penalty, so he's starting right at the back. So Danny's season off to a bad start, unfortunately for us. But where Bottas was 4? Was he that high?
No, he's coming at 8.
8.
Bottas.
So run us through the top 10, please, Jimmy.
Yep.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Sergio Perez qualified pole. We've got Leclerc and Sainz. Behind Sainz, we've got Verstappen at number 4.
So far it's Red Bull and Ferrari at the head of F1. They're the two teams. It's whether some of the other teams can get in there. But it's good to see Haas and Alfa Romeo in the top 10. So.
Yep. Definitely. So after Verstappen, we've got Esteban Ocon with Alpine on position number 5. George Russell sitting at 6. Then we've got Fernando Alonso at 7.
So both Alpines in the top 10?
Both Alpines in the top 10, yep. And then we've got Bottas sitting at 8, Gasly at 9, and Magnussen for Haas in 10.
Gasly's Williams, yeah?
AlphaTauri
now.
Yes. So Williams is Albon and Latifi.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, but it's good to see those 4 teams that make up that bottom like 6 there, not historically in those positions. So it'll be interesting to see how that race unfolds in the early morning for us in about 12 hours.
Yeah.
No, that's not right math. But anyway, it's about 7.
We were so good with 20 times 10. 12 hours when we're going to work in the morning.
It's about 7. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see what Mercedes does there. Hamilton was already asked what he's looking forward to this weekend, and he said going home. So I think Mercedes, struggling a little bit currently.
Well, I think with Mercedes, I was reading a little bit into it earlier. I'm not sure how much of it's true, how much of it's just talk, but so apparently the big difference between Russell and Hamilton at the moment is they're just running two different setups. I guess they're obviously trying to work out the best setup.
They're still
for
running
the cars.
right next to each other though. One's not improved over the other one. Anyway.
For me as a casual, is it good that we've had Leclerc win race 1 and Perez, there on pole? Are we going to see a more even playing field this year, or is it going to be Verstappen and Hamilton dominating everyone else? Thoughts? Too early to tell?
Too early to tell for that.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's Red Bull and Ferrari, but then there's so many other cars in that 10 that could potentially get into that space.
Yeah.
I don't think Bahrain was a good track for it. I don't think Saudi Arabia is either to see whether the new aero packages and that kind of make a difference. But maybe not till they get down here in Melbourne will we see that kind of difference. But I guess Saudi Arabia is a bit more of a tight circuit and with the walls there. But hey, we'll see. We'll see. I think this last week you couldn't really see the improvements as much because there was a lot of long straights with overtaking with a DRS for overtaking. It'll be interesting to see the corners with the high corner speeds, those sort of tracks, how that kind of works. And I'm not sure Saudi Arabia is kind of that track, but we'll see. We'll see what tonight brings.
Saudi Arabia is a little bit more closer to a street style track.
Yes,
so it was a lot more tighter.
Oh, there you go.
Might be harder to overtake. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think it is good to see that middle of the pack sort of compete a little bit more, like you are throwing at least, the order of teams where they're finishing up has changed a fair bit from last season, even though we're only two races in. And like we were saying all of last season, we wanted to see that closing of the gap between the top two Mercedes and Red Bull and the rest of the pack. And it seems to be happening. I mean, Mercedes hasn't had a great start to the season. Red Bull still promising, but then, seeing Ferrari up there now is interesting.
Yeah, well, they've taken a step. They were behind or fighting McLaren last year, so McLaren gone backwards and Ferrari have gone forwards. So it'll be interesting, very, very interesting to see. In motorsport as well, Shane Van Gisberg won all 3 races in Tasmania. So of the 5 races this season, he's won 4 of them. So
SVG off to a flyer.
Yes.
Mick Schumacher is okay. No broken bones. Pretty incredible considering the severity of that crash.
Yes. So I think, just behind that, I think, it was just precautionary. I guess they would have had to obviously have rebuilt that car and brought in Fittipaldi as a backup driver, so probably a bit of a tall order. So that's why Gunther's probably pulled the car from the race, and he said, "Look,
angry Gunther is the
we've got Australia in 2 weeks' time. Just let Shuey relax, compose himself, and get back.
Let us rebuild this
into
car.
It. Yeah,
we'll go to Australia. So yes, that is the next GP. We'll talk about that in a couple of weeks when they get down here.
Motorsport done.
Yes. Any other news?
Manly lead Canterbury 12-10 at the half. Freo and St Kilda underway. It is close. That's it. Thank you to those that have listened. To any new time listeners, please consider subscribing to our channel. Check us out on the socials. We should be getting a little bit more active on that, given child finishing university, getting married, moving house, etc., etc. Hopefully a little bit more time left over for the Instagrams and the Facebooks. Thank you, boys. It's been a pleasure. Unusual, dry episode of The Esky. Shout out to Great Northern, zero alcohol, full taste, full dribble, nonetheless. Thank you very much to any listeners, anyone that commented, any first-time listeners. We will, I think, be back in a week, unless there's any COVID scares.
Hopefully not here.
Two out of 3 have had it, baby, so should be okay. Fingers crossed.
Should be okay.
All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.